All right, we're back. We're going to start up now, get right into it. It's around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, May 14th. Again, we're talking about Rinse and Repeat Part 2. The second part, that it's very unusual because these usually Part 1 and Part 2 feature the same characters, same everything, but the reason I made this Part 1 and Part 2 is because of the homeless Jesus in Manny and the caveman Jesus in Lamb. Those are both kind of similar characters if you think about it. Lamb in the first part, if you struggled with me to get through that story, he saved Bew from the hurricane. He was able to connect with the mushroom consciousness and get back to nature or get a deeper connection with nature. And he was able to unite two tribes together that might have gone to war if it wasn't for him. And I feel like that's what the Jesus Messiah character does in organized religions. I say Jesus because that's the one I grew up with. And that's who you're told to. What would Jesus do? The Jesus fish, all that good stuff. Excuse me. But even other religions have figures similar to that. Every religion kind of has prophetic Messiah-like characters, and it's good to connect that to works of fiction. I'm pulling from my childhood in this story. I never wanted to become a priest, although I had thoughts when I was evicted and I went homeless. I told that story when I came back and my parents took me in. I didn't know what the fuck to do, so I was thinking about every possible angle. What do I do at this point? I just got evicted. Maybe my credit's now all fucked up because of all this shit that happened because of COVID. Everything started at COVID. I was the most normal, boring person. Never really did much in my life. I took some road trips to see concerts. That was cool. But once 2020 hit, everything got fucked up. And I was left in a haze. I was left in a mess. Eventually, it led me to losing my job in 2021. Then in 2025, no more money. I'm evicted. I'm homeless. I wanted to die at that point. I wanted to die. I'm honestly, openly about that. I didn't know what to do, but eventually I moved back into my parents' house, which I'm still there after almost a year now because I don't know what to do to get a job anywhere else. I'm trying to get a new perspective on things by moving to the West Coast and starting a new life. And that's where I'm at. I'm sitting here doing these things every day in my bathroom. I don't know, it's just better acoustics or something. I can focus more in the darkness of my bathroom. Just kind of disturbing. I don't know if I should have mentioned that. It's like setting the scene now. I'm sitting on my toilet. I'm not taking a dump or anything. I'm just sitting on my toilet having these talks every day for 6 fucking hours. And that's all I'm doing right now. I've applied to a bunch of jobs with no success to this point, which is very fucking surprising since there really shouldn't be a reason why I can't get a job. I've not done anything to not be able to get a job. Like, I kept thinking I should have sued my former employer. The name of the company I don't mention, like fucking Voldemort and Harry Potter. But maybe the reason I ended up not suing them was out of fear that I would never be able, it would affect my future job searches. But at that point, I was so fucking out of it. Like the day after I got let go from my company in 2021, the next day I'm writing screenplays and trying to do stuff like this. So, and I had my retirement money. I wasn't planning on using it when I was 40, But that's the situation I got to because of all these fucked up circumstances. But that's in the past, and I'm aware of that. It's not resolved because I'm unable to move on now. Why can't I get a job as a simple barista or something like that? I know a lot of people in my position would be bartenders or working at a club like that, but I don't want to be around loud people. I don't want to be around alcohol. I don't really fit into that scene at all. How is this connecting to this story? Well, in this story, man, he is the homeless Jesus. He's the homeless preacher trying to bring people who are down on their luck to a new realization in life, to get a new perspective on things. We're going to get into that now, why his character is like that. Towards the end, we'll really find out what brought him to the streets, because like he started this script, he says everyone has a story out here. Every homeless person will have a different story, a different tale to tell about family drama, getting fired from their job, other kinds of shit, going to juvenile for some shit when they were younger and now they can't get a job. Opportunity, lack of a balanced lifestyle. There is some mental illness out there, definitely. I've never lived in a tent city, but I'm sure it's not drama-free, full of happy-go-lucky hippies happy to be there. I'm sure there's a lot of shit that goes down, man. And that's the reason I'm not going to move west until I get a fucking job. Like, I don't want to end up in a tent city or worse, because I'm not going to go through that again. I couldn't survive 2 days without a place to sleep, a place to eat, or to know where my food or water was coming from. I couldn't survive. I just couldn't. I was eating leaves and drinking water that I found, luckily, at a local park. I told that story. I was going to become lamb and find some mushrooms and become the fucking caveman Jesus of southern Jersey, just roaming around like Kung Fu or Natasha Lyonne in Poker Face, helping random strangers solve their murder mysteries. That's a cool life, but yeah, that's a TV show. It doesn't happen in real life. So I'm just at that point where I'm not numb to this. I do still am frustrated by it, but you can only carry that for so long until you say, fuck this shit. Why do I care? If I can't get an opportunity, then fuck it all. That's kind of where I am, but I'm still positive because I do stuff like this. I'm still positive because I've done this for my entire life, and I feel like I've gained a skill set to be able to talk freely like this and to write stories, continue to write stories. I got at least 20 some more episodes ready to be put onto digital paper, as I call it. And I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go to my town library and start writing my book or writing anything until I can make money off of it. It's as simple as that. Why would I do anything for no money when it takes a lot of fucking work, hard work and dedication, especially since I already did all this shit. That's what I'm talking about. I've already proven that I'm able to do this and do it to a high degree. Whether I have to join a union to become more of a team player along the Writers Guild and all that stuff, I don't know, man. I said I would do anything it takes to get a career as a writer or anything like that, at least to get my name out there. Because although my main plan is more of a superhero thing where I move to the desert by myself, and for the next 2 decades I just make music, and maybe eventually I'll start collaborating with other artists and shit like that. But that's way more of a marketing aspect, to be that mysterious drifter artist just living alone in seclusion for 20 years and then producing all this stuff and releasing it on Bandcamp. Some hermit living in, that's kind of like, a lot of bands kind of do that. They'll go to the wilderness, live in a cabin. Even famous bands have done that. Pink Floyd, Went to France to do one of those albums. France. France. Pink Floyd did that. They went to some retreat in France to escape tax money, I think, to record an album in France like that. I think that was a thing in the UK back then. But I think Bon Iver kind of did that. Justin Vernon, I think he might have done that. Escape to the wilderness and just record music like that. Pretty big fan of that guy. 33 of God. I think that was the one that kind of turned the nozzle for me. Like, yeah, this is fucking weird. It's like some weird indie sad boy rock mixed with like Kanye effects. Is that what it was called? 33 God or something like that? So it's not a foreign idea. I'm not the first artist to be like, I'm going to go into seclusion and make art for the rest of my life. I'm not the first person to think of something like that, but not many people get to do this. Yeah, maybe that's just a song. Yeah, 33 God is just one of the songs on that album. It's 22 a Million is the name of the album in 2016. Really good album. I gotta listen to that again because there's amazing melodies on that. There's a NPR free concert. If you go on YouTube, look up Bon Iver NPR concert. It's really worth watching. Uh, he's got a unique type of style, man. Yeah, really good lyrics, too. Just really consistently creative, which is not easy to do. Change a little bit and still keep people happy, like your fan base. And yeah, I'm sure that's difficult for an established artist to keep up those appearances. Once you make it big, maybe you even get more stress on top of you because you have to keep producing, because people are waiting for your next album. Your record company signed you to a 6-album deal. You better get that shit done. Like, I think that's the Miles Davis story, that he had like 4 albums left with one of the major labels and he wanted to leave and go somewhere else or something. So he just recorded a bunch of albums really quickly to get out of the contract or to meet his contractual demands or something. So the music business is not something I'm very knowledgeable about. I just hear stories like that one, and that's how I kind of wrote Everything is Free, based on those perceptions of what the music industry can do to an artist, like the Britney Spears example. How she kind of went through a breakdown because of all of the media attention kind of obsessed with her. Everyone in her face every day. Anyone would go crazy, man. Miles David contract story. I don't know how to look this up. All right. 55-56. Miles Davis famously fulfilled his contract with Prestige by recording 4 albums: Cooking, Relaxing, Working, and Steaming. I don't think I've heard of any of these. Maybe Relaxing. In just 2 marathon sessions. Very cool. They should make a documentary about this shit. While trying to leave Prestige for a new lucrative deal with Columbia, Davis kind of rushed this material to satisfy his obligations, resulting in timeless, unrehearsed masterpieces. That's punk rock, man. That's it. Extremely punk rock. He's like, dude, I want to get out of this contract. I got higher things in my aspirations. He gets a bunch of his friends together. We're going to make 4 albums. Just put it all out there and be done with this bullshit. So yeah, like a boss. Miles Davis is he's pretty badass. He's a punk rocker. Punk rock doesn't have to be, I write hardcore music, 3 chords, and scream a lot. You can just have that attitude that nobody's gonna tell me how to be an artist. anyone who lives by that. Gillian Welch is punk rock. David Rawlings is punk rock. They just do it all themselves and say, fuck it, we don't need a record label. We're our own record label. We have our own pressing plant to make vinyl records. Well, of course, Fat Mike, No Effects. I keep mentioning, the Fugazi ethic to just do it yourself. That's the most attractive way to me too, but I don't know how to do it solely by myself without going homeless again. I'm going to move across the country, get a job, lose that job, and then be unable to get another job. Either go to prostitution, which I don't think I can make a lot of money. I'm not that attractive. Or just drink myself to death, hopefully. That's the negative of moving across the country by yourself. Or someone's going to just grab you and take all your organs and you wake up in a bathtub. That story. That horror story. Or what else? Yeah, I don't know. That's probably the worst case scenario. Worst. The best case scenario is, yeah, I can actually achieve this. Live in the sun, in the desert, not get bit by any rattlesnakes, not wake up with like tarantulas all over me, and live in my shipping container for the next 20 years and see how much music that I can actually produce. I'm ready for that challenge because it is a challenge. I can talk all day like this. I can speak about the songs I'm writing or demonstrate how the songs go, which is what I was doing before this. I would write a song and the next day or the day of, I would kind of sing it into my phone to just give myself a general blueprint of how the music goes. Can I go the next step in my music studio shipping container? Can I go to the next step and actually record this stuff, sing, play the fucking bongos or maracas, play bass, and play whatever acoustic or electric guitar effects I need, pedals and stuff like that? And how many albums could I do like that? How many albums would I need assistance? Because I have like 5 rap albums, and how the fuck am I going to do that by myself? To make beats or just to rap? I don't know how to rap, dude. I can write hip-hop themed music. I've done that since 2020, really, which was hard in the beginning, but now I'm like comfortable doing it. But can I be a rapper, actually perform my own songs without sounding so stupid? I don't know. I want to lean towards no on that, so I would have to find other people to work with, or just find different ways to interpret what I'm trying to do to fit my style, make it more spoken word poetry, which I've done that as well with some Velvet Underground tributes. But there's some rap albums, like the first one I did was Digital Incineration. In 2020, I was writing that like at work. That's when I came up with some of the songs and stuff. That continued as I was still working, 2020, 2021. I would just write songs while I was at work. And a lot of those songs came out like that. I still really like it. Digital Incineration was my first rap concept album. It's really led by St. Vincent, her album self-titled, Radiohead, OK Computer, and Deltron, which I talked about, Deltron 3030. Those were the 3 most influential albums that led me to write that. But would I be able to perform all the songs is the question, and I don't know. To a good enough degree. I'm not trying to make demos. I actually want to make, good sounding produced music that people will enjoy for a long time. That's not like a novelty. I don't want to be a novelty. I want to make like the best I can make this shit. Because why not? Why would you want to go half-ass on anything you do? Digital Incineration was the first album I shared in September of 2023 on my Substack. And let me give you a taste. Like, I don't know how to rap. When I first wrote these songs, I sang them into my phone. I still have those recordings as I was riding my exercise bike. I would I would try to rap these things like we all have junk DNA inside of us, past life regressions. God should have pulled the plug. Let the dinosaurs bake in the summer's parade of roses, frozen for the public disgrace. Time is just an illusion decomposing, lulling us into a sleep so revolting. Reboot the animal stare, kill emotion, afraid to feel to fear coping. Trees give life, light. Let the love shoot the blind eye, evil erasers head towards the twilight. Big brother kept sacred, intertwined with the vacant. Bet on the cryptic, currency liquid, money makers, lucid fakers, human wafers, holy jesters. Test my food, another leper, poison tongue, equipped for questions, testify to rival nations. Peace too easy, war consumes. Every scream will fall in tune. If you need to feel alive, they provide the ancient tribe. Kill yourself, but stay alive. Let the dying stars revive. How many times would I have to practice this before I either remember these lines or I could do it with a good breath control? I'm picturing myself in my shipping container right now in the middle of New Mexico somewhere. No one around me for miles. And I can just scream as loud as I want to, make up some cool ambient noise to play in the background with some weird guitar effects or a synthesizer that I found on eBay or at a thrift store. And yeah, I don't want to, I'm going to be living alone in a fucking shipping container. I'm not going to be buying expensive anything because when I have to go out and do stuff or get supplies, I still have to eat and shit. And I don't want people breaking in and just stealing everything. I'm not going to have much of a studio in terms of fancy microphones. I'm just going to buy thrift store stuff at pawn shops, and do it the old-fashioned way, man. Back to Marty Robbins. Somebody talked about him on the podcast, how his acoustic guitar sounded so cheap, but he's writing cowboy songs that you sing around the campfire, so it works. When I do something like this, I don't know if it'll work. It's my own brand of hip hop, so I can do whatever I want with it. When it comes to selling this stuff and sampling stuff, then it gets even more complicated. I want to use the Boomtown Rats, I Don't Like Mondays, as the hook for this song. So after that last line, kill yourself but stay alive, let the dying stars revive. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. It would go into like a choir there. And I picture it usually with female voices because that's kind of what I grew up with. You have a rapper and then the hook is played kind of even like that New York, whatever the lyrics are. Is that Kanye? New York, New York, something city where dreams are made of. Like, I picture that voice when I write like hooks and stuff. So I don't know how I would really do that myself. It would sound not as good as it could be. Going back to Hustle and Flow, when they get that one woman to sing that part, and she's not doing it passionately enough, and then he pushes her finally there. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to do it half-assed where there's no emotion involved. I want to actually feel some kind of passion as I'm saying these words. Not all aggression, but a lot of this is aggressive. Ah, it's Alicia Keys. I don't even know it was Alicia Keys, man. So of course it's going to sound good if you get Alicia Keys doing this shit. Is that the right song? I don't even think it is. I don't even know who sings that song anymore. Yeah, I gotta look this up because it's gonna bug me. Is that what it's called? Empire State of Mind? That sounds correct. Yeah. Empire State of Mind lyrics. It's not. It's Jay-Z. If that's the one. Yeah. Concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Yeah. All right. That makes sense since that's like the New York messiah of a rapper. But how could I do a song like that justice? You can't. Even somebody as famous as Jay-Z or Kanye, if you don't have an amazing female vocalist, you have to do it yourself. Like it's not going to be as good. It's going to be stupid unless you find a different way to do it. I don't know, man. Why am I talking about this? It is Alicia Keys. All right. I was getting confused there. There's another song with Kanye. Alicia Keys and Kanye. City of Gods. That's something different from 2022. New York City, please go easy on me tonight. It's also about New York. Welcome to the City of Gods. I don't know this song. But yeah, these are thoughts I'm constantly going through in my head because like Manny in this story, all you're really looking for in life, or you should be at some point, is like a real true purpose. You think you find it, but you can't get there. So it's like, what do you do at that point? What do? You have to, yeah, you have to be practical in your approach, but people who are practical, well, I'll say it like this. I don't want to be Daniel Plainview, where all I do is think about work, 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 work. Daniel Plainview was just a fucking psychopath. And I mentioned him in part one. I guess There Will Be Blood kind of stays in my mind. I wrote a song called There Will Be Blood, kind of a Motorhead song, part Motorhead, part rap song. But there's a happy balance between Daniel Plainview and an artist who might want to work like 12 hours a day, wake up at 2 in the morning and record a song, because you never know when it's going to hit you. Maybe I'll try to be recording a song in my studio by myself, and there's a part that I can't do, but then I wake up at 3 in the morning with a new sense of determination, a new mindset, and I could just be as loud as I want to because there's nobody around me in the middle of the fucking desert. So that's what I'm going for. And it would be a cool documentary. I'll document my experience as I go along, and I think people would be interested in a situation like that. If you can start off with a bang, at least get people interested from the beginning. And if nobody's fucking with me and I'm able to do it free of mind, no physical bullshit, no mental bullshit, and I'm able to do this shit, I'm confident I can do a lot of it because I'm not really looking to do anything else. I'm not trying to go party, or I'm not trying to have much of a social life at all. I'm just trying to do as much as I can do before I die, which is almost like my mantra at this point. Besides I like slogans that are as simple as possible. Like I said, the Nike, just do it. That's like the best one of all time. Just do it. It's everything. Those 3 little words, just do it. It means so many things, like put your bullshit, somewhere else and just go fucking do it. It sounds great, but how do you do it in my situation without money, without connections? How do you fucking do something like this? I don't know. That's why I'm here, stuck in this kind of a weird situation. But yeah, I get it. There's a lot of varying opinions on what to do, what makes a worthy life. And I'm open to all opinions like that. But after a while, as you get older and older, the only thing you really care about is what you're supposed to what you feel like you're supposed to do with your life. It's not selfish. It's not self-centeredness. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do to make yourself feel valuable and happy, then you're going to be miserable and you're going to make the people around you miserable. Eventually, that's what it boils down to, because other people are trying to fuck with your life and point you in directions that you don't want to go toward. That's usually what happens in cases like that. And I don't think I've been given the right or the enough opportunity to achieve these things in a successful fashion. I don't think I've been given anywhere close to a chance or opportunity to do what I want to do. It's a money thing, but it's also, it's who you know, and it's a network thing. You have to network yourself, network your goals with other people so other people can make money along with you. That's how any business really works. The entertainment business isn't any different, and all that stuff is, pretty self-explanatory, but it's not what motivates me when I wake up. I just want to make as much shit as I can before I die. I would write that on the other side of my shipping container. The one side would say, Compass Charlatan Publishing, all we want to do is make cool shit. The other side would say, do what you want before you die. As simple as that. Because you're going to die, everyone dies, and you're not going to care about all this other bullshit when you're about to die. You're going to care about, damn it, I wish I had a year left. I'd go out and do what I wanted to do. That's what you're going to be thinking. Or you're just going to be like, my life's been miserable. I'm happy to die at this point. I don't know. I've never been on a deathbed. I don't know what people think about. I'm thinking a lot of people have regrets in life. Or things that, I don't know. I really don't know. If you're still all there at that point, if your mental faculties are still there, your memories are still there, and you still know what your fucking name is, and maybe you got some regrets in your life, because everyone has some. If you didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened, but maybe if I did this, and this would have happened, and you just spiral like that. What if I grew up like this? What if I went to this college? What if I did the Peace Corps? What if I did this? It's a revolving door of what ifs. But at this point, I don't care about the what ifs or who fucked me over. Even though I talk about it all the time, I'm talking about it because I still suffer from that bullshit. Like, I can't say it any clearer than that. If that shit wasn't affecting my life still, because I believe it is, then I wouldn't have to think about this bullshit. I'd be on my way making successful albums or being involved with producing my scripts and stuff. And it'd be a much different experience. I'm still trying to get there. I just don't know how to get there to begin with. When I started this, and this was totally out of the blue, where I was like, let me read my screenplay, Seeds of Anarchy, maybe 2 weeks ago now. And then I just did one a day, or finished out maybe in 2 days, because it's over 100 pages. And I just kept doing it every day, something to keep me motivated, to keep the passion alive, and keep these stories going. And I think it's easier to convince someone to listen to a talk like this, hopefully at least, and get an idea of what I'm going for. When you go to pitch an original series or a movie, I know it's not going to be a 3-hour meeting, probably be like an hour at most, probably, until the production company's like, all right, we're sick of this guy, get him out of here. So I doubt anyone would listen to me for 3 hours talking about anything, because I probably wouldn't listen to most people for 3 fucking hours. But if I was a screen developer or a movie developer, I was in that business trying to find scripts to develop, would I rather read somebody's script or have them kind of speak an analysis of it? And I know they get hundreds and hundreds of scripts where they only read like the first 5 pages, supposedly. And if it doesn't hit the mark, then they just toss it, I guess. So I don't know, man. Whether this is effective or not is not as relevant to the conversation because I don't even know if these things actually go out anywhere. I put them on Substack, but where does it go really? How does it get marketed? It doesn't. Can people search for me on Google or other search engines and find my Substack page? Do I have to pay for that? Yeah, there's a lot of shit like that I don't really concern myself with too much. In the past, I was starting an Etsy shop to do the same thing, sell my books, my ebooks. The only thing I have left is Amazon. I got rid of Shopify. I got rid of Etsy because it wasn't really doing anything. And because I don't have an income right now, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to pay for shit. So that's where I'm at. Reading this story is bringing up these types of feelings because that's what this story is kind of about. We look at Freddie. He's a young kid addicted to drugs. He's going through his version of a crisis, not knowing what to do in life. Manny, he seems like he has it all together. He's helping other people. He's been on the street for probably 10 years trying to survive. But does he have it all together? Is that what he really wants to do with his life? Like, these are all relevant sides of the equation here as we look at this story and continue. I've never been a drug addict. I've never been homeless for 10 years. But it's all relative to this story, my own experiences with feeling like you don't have a purpose or you have to be Sisyphus and work this job all day, every day until you die. Instead of trying to create something and leaving a legacy that you actually believe in. And I realize, yeah, you need people to do the opposite. Not everyone's going to be able to do something like that, have their own business, open their own business, start their own publishing company, or record their own songs in the fucking desert. But some people will. The people with the balls to do it will do it. So, what does that mean? If my balls are big enough, I'll just hitchhike to the West Coast and then, I claim this desert in the name of me, and then just build my own house. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but maybe it'll make a good movie. Maybe it's already been made. I'm just not thinking clearly right now to think of maybe something like that. Well, I was thinking of the Ray Charles movie with Jamie Foxx and all the struggles that he had to go through. Maybe the Johnny Cash story is kind of similar. He went through his demons throughout his life. But these people had balls to do what they wanted to do. Ray Charles was like kind of radical, mixing stuff together. Or maybe more James Brown. James Brown was more mixing gospel and soul music, but even Sam Cooke got shit for that, right? Like, any music that is danceable is not considered gospel, so you should never, like, back to Footloose, no dancing. But yeah, you need some degree of balls. I'm not talking just as a man, women or men. You need to have the guts to just do it, take the risk before you fucking die. But again, like, a risk, but a calculated one. Or you're going to end up like in a tent city in a hepatitis epidemic and surviving off of Doritos and dumpster food, like this story kind of gets into. All right, I talked more than I was supposed to talk. I'm already like 40 minutes into this. We're going to go on to page 35. when we left this story, they just found the abandoned hotel. Manny's trying to give Freddie a warm place to sleep for the night. I'm not sure what season we're in. I don't think it's quite wintertime yet. Maybe it's getting close, though. Oh no, never mind, I'm sorry. He tells Freddie, at least you have the summer to figure your shit out. So we're in the summertime. But he found Freddie on the street, about to OD. He thought he was dead on some drugs. He thought he was dead, then he was able to revive him. And he wants to take Freddie somewhere to be indoors for the night. So he takes him to this abandoned hotel with all these vagrants and drug addicts. He has second thoughts, so he's like, all right, I'm not going to leave you here by yourself with all the drugs around you to tempt you. So I'm going to stay with you. So they're sleeping. And that's where we left off, where Manny said to himself, upon this rock I will build my church. All right. The next morning, they're waking up inside the hotel. And Manny is checking on Freddie, who's drooling all over himself, still in a deep sleep. He lets him be and quietly guides his cart away as Sammy excitedly runs over and pets the barking Curtis. Manny. He's saying good morning. Sammy smiles. Sammy. What's his name? Manny. Curtis. Sammy. Good morning, Curtis. He guides his cart towards the exit. Sammy, where are you going? Manny, breakfast. Most important meal of the day. Now we cut to the boardwalk a little bit later as Jackie and a young reporter walk side by side as he lights a cigar. This is Jackie lighting a cigar, walking the boardwalk, a young reporter next to him. Jackie begins the conversation. Make sure you add something about that family of retards I helped back in the day. I think the kid got brain damage from some lead paint or something. The young reporter writes down some notes into a pad. Young reporter, yes sir. Jackie. And don't mention the whole lead paint thing. I forget if that was actually our fault or not. Just talk about how much I care about the retards around here. And how I always fought to protect my workers, young and old, smart and retard alike. Young reporter, yes sir. And what about Esther Thomas? Do you want me to write anything about her? Jackie hands his cigar to him. Then he buys a breakfast sandwich from a vendor and bites into it like a pig, finishing it in just a few bites. Jackie with his mouth full. Who's that again? Young reporter. Esther Thomas, sir. She was the one who refused to sell her house. Jackie grabs his cigar back and puffs, still not remembering her. As they walk farther down the boardwalk, young reporter. For your parking garage 5 years ago? Jackie. Oh, right. That old hag still alive? Young reporter. Yes, sir. Still in the same house. She's been talking to other press outlets. Said you threatened her day and night for months. Even accused you of infesting her house with termites to try to get her out. Jackie laughs. Jackie. Yeah, that does sound about right. Why the fuck would you want to talk about all of that for? He blows smoke into the reporter's face. Jackie. Just stick to the goddamn retard angle. Jackie Crow loves retards, and so on and so on. You think that would work as a headline? The reporter stares back blankly, not quite sure how to respond. Jackie. Don't get so bogged down by the details here, okay? You're telling a story. Have to keep it upbeat, fresh, heroic. A savior rising from the ashes to lift up the little man and all that horse shit. You need me to write this for you? Young reporter. No, sir, I understand. Jackie. Good. Just make sure you put something in there about how much I love the retards. Young reporter. Yes, sir. They walk farther down the boardwalk. So, yeah, maybe this reporter works for some news outlet and Jackie kind of owns him. He's trying to get a good PR story in the paper. Get the papers, the papers. Maybe he's a part of some newspaper that he owns. Like he's a mogul. It wouldn't be that surprising that he owns his own newspaper or is a part of it as an investor or something. So he's just talking to this young reporter trying to tell him, write this good story about me, about how much I love the retards. And that's just his insensitive demeanor and his real personality coming through. All right, nearby, we're at a fish packing warehouse now, as dock workers are piling fresh fish into large rolling containers in front of the old brick building. As Manny rolls his cart towards the manager, a man in his 50s, who holds a clipboard and is smoking a cigarette. Manny, what you got for me today? The man smirks, then points towards a large dumpster on the side of the building. Manny, anything good? The man puffs his cig and walks away, not paying Manny much mind. Manny, thanks. Manny, VO. They say beggars can't be choosers. Manny opens the dumpster, swats away flies, and then piles fish heads and scaly remnants into a plastic bag inside his cart. Manny, VO. And no truer phrase has ever been spoken. So he's taking the worst of the worst here, just a bunch of fish heads, and he's taking them to make breakfast for everybody. But they're all disgusting with flies everywhere. All right. Now Manny is parking his cart against a railing underneath the boardwalk as Curtis sniffs the fish heads in the plastic bag. Manny's talking to Curtis. Protect this with your life, boy. He pets him, chuckles to himself, then walks underneath the boardwalk, under the boardwalk. Moments later, Manny is walking through piles of trash and scrap. Manny, VO. It's truly amazing what you can find under here, especially after a holiday weekend. He spots a nice charcoal grill, a half bag of charcoal, and some lighter fluid. Manny, VO. Jackpot. He grins to himself while placing the bag and lighter fluid inside the grill cover, then carrying it away. Now we are at a deli, maybe an hour later. Same day, same morning. A deli owner in his 60s sweeps outside the front entrance as Manny guides his cart towards him. The bag of fish heads, the grill, and some scrap metal inside as Curtis rests on top of it all. Manny, VO. There's still plenty of good people out here, always ready to lend a hand. They shake hands, then the deli owner walks inside as Manny waits for him to return and feeds Curtis a treat. Manny, VO. They've been here through the good and the bad, survived floods, corrupt politicians, and economic downturns. He steps back out, this is the deli owner, and he's handing Manny 2 loaves of bread and a bag of fresh garlic. So this is probably Manny's bread connection. He goes there and the guy gives him loaves of old bread or some shit, and maybe garlic and other stuff. Manny, VO. Some folks probably still remember the days of Prohibition, where this city became a haven for those simply seeking a good stiff drink. Manny waves in thanks and guides his cart away as the deli owner begins sweeping again. Manny, VO. I'm still a tourist around here compared to a lot of the people I've been blessed enough to call my friends. Compared to a lot of the people I've been blessed enough to call my friends. I guess it's got to be plural there, yeah. I've been blessed enough to call my friends. He passes some abandoned buildings. Manny, VO. This city will always be their home, no matter what storm brews over the horizon. threatening to uproot generations of their sweat and toil. He passes by a window of campaign posters with a picture of Jackie with his arms crossed and the tagline or slogan, Jackie Crow for mayor, Atlantic City's one true path to greatness. Alright, so what's that scene? It's just showing some of the connections Manny has made, even though he's been out there in the streets of Atlantic City for like probably 10 years or so. That's what I'm imagining. Because he's in his 50s now, that makes sense. As we get deeper into his story, he's talking about generations of families that have been living there in that area for generations, passing the torch from one family to the next. And he's saying, you know, I'm still a tourist around here compared to a lot of these people that I've become friends with. But it's also became his home as he lives on the street. All right. He's going back, and I'm not going to do too much commentary as much as I did before. Well, I say that now, but I really don't know how this will go. I'll try to speed it up a little. Manny is now inside that same grocery store from before, guiding his cart through the front doors, the bag of fish heads, the grill, and some of the scrap metal inside, along with Curtis, as the same manager from before shakes his head and walks angrily towards him instantly. Store manager. I thought I told you not to come back here. I will call the police this time. They stare each other down. Manny. Sir, I'm just buying a few things and I'll be on my way. I have a very important breakfast to prepare. He walks past him towards the produce aisle. Manny. Call the cops if you want. He crosses his arms, the manager does, and exhales in frustration. Store manager. This is the last time I let you in here. Manny ignores him, places lemons inside a plastic bag, then stares at his reflection in the metal scale. Manny, VO. I often wonder how much longer I can survive living like this. How many more winters can my aching old bones possibly withstand? He ties up the bag of lemons and places it inside his cart. Manny, VO. When will my own demons get the best of me? Will anyone be there when the lights go out? He walks farther down the aisle. Manny, VO. I'm not a betting man. Anymore, at least. But I would wager there is not a very high life expectancy for people like me. For people like myself. For people like me. Yeah, either way. Alright, back to the abandoned hotel a little bit later. Manny is in full chef mode now. He's cooking the fish heads on a grill and other fish remnants with bits of garlic, and he's seasoning it with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. As he whistles the melody to Go Tell It on the Mountain, go tell it on the mountain, he grabs a loaf of bread, cuts equal portions with a plastic knife, as Sammy walks next to him and stares at the food. Manny, someone looks hungry. He smears some cooked garlic on a piece of bread, hands it to her, and watches her chew it curiously. Sammy, what's that funny taste? Manny, don't tell me you've never had garlic before. She smiles and eats more. Manny, not quite your typical breakfast. Sammy, I think I like it. He hands her another piece of garlic bread. Manny, just try to brush your teeth later. Sammy, but I don't even have a toothbrush. He grins as he tosses more fish onto the grill. Manny, well, maybe some gum then. Sammy, I don't have any gum either. Manny, that's okay. Maybe we'll just go easy on the garlic. Deborah walks over as Manny prepares her a plate of fish and bread. She eats a piece of the fish, then nods and thanks. Deborah, you know you cook much better than you dance. She walks away towards Freddie, who eats a piece of the fish as well, seated on a curb. As Manny grins and serves more of the vagrants, his food. Manny, Plenty for everyone. Fran approaches with a plate. Manny, just be a few more minutes while I get this baby cooking. Fran nods and thanks, while Sammy jumps into his arms, knocking his wind out. Sammy, Daddy, Daddy, there's garlic on the bread. He kisses her on the cheek. Fran, yeah, I can smell it coming out of your skin. She giggles as he picks her up, then makes a stinky face, and then tickles her neck playfully. Fran, that garlic breath is no joke. Manny smiles towards them as he squirts fresh lemon juice onto more of the fish heads. This scene is just supposed to be a light, playful introduction to my version of homeless Jesus serving the masses fish and bread loaves, like the Bible story, where he had fish and bread and he like multiplied it for all the fucking people. That's all this scene is. It's supposed to introduce that theme that Manny's becoming that role now completely. Before he was doing it randomly, he would go through the neighborhood and toss people bread, give toys to the kids, and be like half Jesus, half Santa Claus. Now he has his own budding congregation, possibly. All these people that have found refuge in this abandoned hotel. He looks at it like an opportunity to maybe begin a fresh start for himself and everybody else. So he's becoming the prophet, the Messiah, whatever you want to call it, of the homeless people here. All right. A little bit later, the feast is over, and Manny is cleaning the grill with a towel, making it shine good as new. Then he's sitting down on the curb and eating his own bit of fish heads on a paper plate, as some other vagrants are eating nearby and walking by and thanking him and just enjoying themselves. It's probably people who haven't had a cooked meal in a while, so they're all kind of grateful. Even maybe some of them are the drug addicts, but he's not going to deny anybody food or anything. All right, so Manny is feeding Curtis a small flake of fish as Freddie and Deborah are smoking crack in the shadows against the wall. Manny notices this and he puts his plate down and begins walking towards them, but he reconsiders and walks back to his food, shaking his head in disappointment. He gazes towards the graffitied hotel as vagrants eat fish, converse, and laugh together. Then he smiles as Sammy and Fran fling an old frisbee back and forth, bright sunlight shining upon them. Manny VO. For some reason, on that sweltering summer afternoon, I convinced myself that this place had some real potential. He stares towards a wall covered in graffiti of a colorful psychedelic sun with drips of blood instead of sunbeams. It's probably some kind of gang thing. And he's continuing his voiceover here. That you just need to help people find a purpose, a respectable place to call home, a chance to wipe the slate clean, and just maybe their best selves will rise up from the muck, or from the ashes, whatever you want to say there. I think I like muck. I like the word muck. Now he sits back down on the curb and he pets Curtis, Manny VO. Maybe I was just out in the sun too long. So even he's saying this is a ridiculous concept for a script. You get a bunch of homeless vagrants and addicts in this abandoned hotel, and this guy Manny is going to save all these people like a homeless Jesus. Even he's like kind of doing a meta commentary, like, what the fuck, this story is ridiculous, man. But is it really? Like, there's been stuff written in a similar fashion. I mentioned the Paul Hogan, Almost an Angel. It is like a Hallmark movie. It's pretty well done for that time period. But it has a similar type of appeal. Like, the outsider comes to a town, almost like Kung Fu. Yeah, this is like a Kung Fu episode. I'm a fan of that show. I haven't been through every episode, but That probably inspired some of this at some point. We're going to move on to a very long abandoned hotel montage, or cleaning the hotel montage. There's a song by Johnny Cash and the Carter Family, which I mentioned before in part one. The World Needs a Melody. Really upbeat, catchy song. And when I heard it, I was like, man, I got to use that. The world needs a melody. It's really fucking. It should be corny and campy, but it's like so good, man. Go listen to it. I think it fits this. This montage, which is rather long now, it's going to kind of show the birth of this new congregation. You could call it a church now. Turning this abandoned hotel into a church. That's kind of what this montage is going to kind of show. We begin inside as Manny, Deborah, Freddie are loading trash into his cart. They're cleaning up inside as Sammy and Fran are sweeping up debris. A few vagrants nearby are opening up the filthy curtains, letting in the bright sunlight, while others clean the windows with rags and spray bottles. Two emaciated addicts block the sunlight with their arms. Then they storm out of the room, shooting Manny the evil eye as they walk past him. So what I mean there, some of the drug addicts are like, what the fuck are these people doing, man? I'm just trying to get high. These people are cleaning up this place, making it look all nice. So they're not really happy with Manny Vio. Some residents didn't quite appreciate the renovations. Abandoned hotel later that day. Manny is loading trash and debris into the dump truck, then bangs on the side. It's the same truck driver from that one of the first pages, that same guy, Manny's friend. Manny, thanks again. The truck driver waves and drives away. Truck driver, anytime, Manny. Manny now guides his empty cart past a few vagrants who are covering up the graffitied wall with bright gold paint as others pick up trash off the pavement. Manny Vio. But most embrace the opportunity to take pride in the semblance of a home again. Sammy flings the frisbee towards Curtis, who fetches it and then runs back to her with the frisbee. Abandoned hotel at nighttime now. Manny is laying on his back, staring up at the stars outside of the hotel, while Curtis cuddles in his arms. He turns his attention towards Deborah and Freddie as they're buying drugs off the dealer. And then he takes out his pamphlet and flips to another page. Manny Vio. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the blazing furnace. Matthew 13:49-50. So now Deborah and Freddie disappear into the shadows. Manny Vio. Some people already reside within that said furnace. He places the pamphlet down and shuts his eyes. So he knows they're still doing drugs. He just doesn't. He's probably been through this with other people. He's been on the street trying to save people. He's probably tried to get people off drugs and just failed every time. Because I do believe that unless the person really wants to, they're just going to look at you as, get away from me, you're the man. You're just trying to fill me with nonsense. Like, unless the person really wants to do it, I don't know if you can really, you could give people information like, hey man, once you want to get out of this life, here's your steps to go about it. But it's tough to really know what that person's going through, I guess. So Manny's kind of the laissez-faire approach as a, whatever you want to call him, a preacher. He's kind of that same laissez-faire, hopefully they turn it around at some point. All right, now we're in the daytime. Freddie is now guiding Manny's cart towards the dump truck with Deborah and Fran by his side. They load up the back of the truck with trash and debris while Manny grills up some fish heads with lemon and garlic nearby, 2 loaves of bread next to him. Sammy dips a brush into a can of black paint nearby, then paints the outline of a sun onto the gold wall of the hotel, like the big front entrance wall. She's painting this sun onto the gold wall. And then Manny watches and smiles towards her. At nighttime, Sammy and Fran sweep up the now spotless floor while two vagrants are painting a back wall in white to match the others. Manny grabs a framed painting of a griffin from his cart, then hangs it over the front wall with Freddie's help. They step back and gaze towards it proudly. All right. This is pretty much the end of this now. The griffin is a symbol of good luck, I think. I think I used it in Once in a Lifetime because there's some symbolic elements to that. And the Icarus story, it kind of just made sense to use it there. And I'm using it again here in connection to that. So he found this framed painting of a griffin, like a really cool folk art painting or something. And he's hanging it on the wall, kind of like as the altar. That's kind of like his front of his church has a picture of this painting of a griffin that he probably found in the trash or something, or at a flea market. Manny VO. And yeah, here's the information right here. I did put it in here. Some legends state griffins would protect troves of gold, along with other treasures of unimaginable wealth. I was hopeful this one would bring us all some luck in that department, or at least bring out the light within that turned so dim over the years. The drug dealer walks in and smiles towards the painting, showing off his shiny gold teeth. So there's the gold symbolism again. And Manny's got his gold medal on. Every scene in this, he's got the gold medal around his neck. And then the drug dealer puts his arm around Manny, like they're becoming friends still. All right, that's the end of this montage. It wasn't actually as long as I thought. I think I shortened it at some point because I had a lot of other scenes in there. All right, so they cleaned up this hotel, and all these vagrants and drug dealers are like building, or not building it, but they're making a home for themselves. Another community type of, that they can all live together like that in a respectable place and actually eat food that Manny is cooking for them. Everything is looking to be going pretty smoothly so far. What could go wrong? Now we're inside the abandoned hotel. Maybe the next day or a few days later, Manny is standing in front of the griffin painting as he gazes out to an audience of vagrants seated in old folding chairs in rows split up, leaving a narrow walkway in between, just like a church, like the church pews, but they're just old folding chairs instead of fancy benches or whatever. And these are some of the people in the crowd. The truck driver, his wife, and their children are in the front row. Behind them is Sammy with Fran and Curtis resting in Sammy's arms or in her lap, whatever. Freddie is all drugged out, and he's sitting with Deborah, who's drinking from a vodka bottle as she dozes off. The dealer is sitting behind them, polishing his gold teeth with his finger. Joe, the janitor, smoking Joe. He puffs a cigarette from his seat in the back in his janitor's uniform. Some of the nurses from the free clinic also sit around him. Other vagrants are around, scattered around in both rows. So it's a pretty packed congregation. Manny's up front trying to gather his thoughts. He's clearing his throat. He takes out his pamphlet and then he clears his throat again, appearing pretty nervous. We've never really seen him nervous before, but he's appearing kind of like flustered that he doesn't know how to approach this. Manny eventually begins talking and he says, "Sorry, been quite a long while since I was in front of a congregation." He squints down at his pamphlet and he continues, kind of in a lackluster tone, not very old time religion. Sam Kinison, he's kind of mumbling these words, not getting anyone's attention. I don't know how else to say that. No one's really, people will be coughing and they're not really paying attention to him. Like, so he says, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind." That's Isaiah 65:17. Now Manny gazes towards his congregation, who are not very interested in his dull reading, and he places the pamphlet in his pocket and walks to the front row. So he's trying a new strategy, just speaking off the top of his head now, like he's been doing his entire life as a homeless person. Manny. I think almost all of you know me by now. If not, my name is Manny, and I've been out on these streets for over 5 years now. All right, so it's not 10 years. He's only been out there for about 5 years, which is still a crazy amount of time to survive out there. The dealer cheers. Dealer, woo woo, that street life, baby. Manny paces back and forth, growing a little more comfortable. Manny. It's been a constant struggle to keep a positive outlook on things over these past 5 years. As I walk by abandoned building after abandoned building, rummaging through people's junk, or for some copper wiring that nobody else happened to get their hands on yet. Or as I wake each morning, fighting to keep myself from buying a bottle of Old Granddad and calling it a day right then and there. Freddie nudges the napping Deborah, who wakes up and swigs her vodka bottle. Manny. As I watch drugs invade these very streets and pollute the minds of this long-standing, proud community, the dealer appears offended by this comment, rises out of his chair and places his hands over the pistol in his pants. Dealer, hey, maybe you should get to the point here, Monsignor. I just thought that would be a funny way to say Monsignor. Monsignor. Manny stands under the Griffin painting now, beginning to hit his stride a little bit more. As his preaching becomes more passionate, Manny. But as I stand here before you now, through all the darkness I have encountered on those street corners out there, let me proclaim here and now that I still cling to the hope of the kindness of strangers, the power of friendship, the promise of community, the bond of both brother and sisterhood. He struts around confidently now like a televangelist. Manny. The ideal that each human soul is worthy of respect, dignity, and a chance to pursue their own path towards happiness. The truck driver rises in excitement, lifting his arms up high. Truck driver, preach, my good brother, preach. His wife calms him down and grabs his arm as he sits back down, as Manny regathers his thoughts and paces around. Manny. So I'm thinking Manny had a script, but he was like, fuck that, I'm just going to talk off the top of my head of my story and connect it to all this shit. So he kind of did away with it, and he's just kind of talked from the heart at this point. As he continues, Manny. The mindset that we should not be judged by the size of our bank accounts, or the ragged clothing on our back, or the depression keeping us hidden in the shadows, just a shell of our former selves. He walks by Freddie and Deborah, Manny, or the demons dragging us down each day and night into the depths of that unforgiving hopelessness. Now he approaches Joe in the back row. Manny. My dear brothers and sisters, I stand before you today to declare that there will always be a new path forward. Just look around this room at what we've accomplished already. He passes Fran and Sammy as Curtis rests in her lap. Manny. Whether or not you want to embark on that new path is the only pertinent query at hand, for that takes guts a true grit, the strength to stare your demons in the eye and proclaim, I am stronger than you, I am smarter than you, and damn it, I am sure as hell tougher than you. Everyone cheers loudly from their seats. Manny. But that is for each one of you to affirm, for nobody else can vanquish the demons inside of you, inside all of us. He pats his fist against his chest. Manny. You and you alone will ultimately determine what to do with that light that still shines inside. He paces over to the window as sunlight shines down onto his face. Manny, all I can do is implore you to let that light shine, no matter how much darkness may creep in from time to time, because that very light inside is essentially everything you will ever need to not just survive through these hard times, but to thrive. Everyone rises from their seats and cheers as Manny runs back to the Griffin painting and claps his hand in celebration. So he's going full out televangelist now. The spirit's inside of him now. Manny, that's right. Let that light shine. Share that light when someone needs it. Never let that light fade. And don't ever let anyone steal that light from within you. The cheers continue as Freddie walks to the front and sings a powerful rendition of You Are My Sunshine. After a few lines, everyone else joins in as they sway back and forth together. Alright, so that's Manny's first, I don't know what to call it, first service, yeah. That's his first service in his church here with these congregates made from drug addicts and vagrants and alcoholics, prostitutes, the people that are considered the dregs of society, that people say, you better live right or you're going to end up on Skid Row. That's his church. His church is all the rejects. Not to say these are bad people. You don't know their circumstances, but that's what his church is going to look like. All right. Now, outside that abandoned hotel a little bit later, Manny is now serving fish, his usual meal of fish. The fish heads with lemon and garlic. He's grilling those up. As Freddie and Deborah are slicing the loaves of bread, Manny is doing a voiceover. The first service was a big hit. He places the fish heads onto a paper plate and hands it to the dealer. The dealer grabs it, and then while chewing, he says, I gotta be honest with you, you started that sermon out like a little bitch, but you did pull it out. You did pull it out, though, at the end. Yeah, that's fine. He shakes Manny's hand. Dealer, I respect that shit. Manny, maybe you can cool it with the slinging around here then. The dealer laughs. Dealer, shit, don't be coming at me with that crazy talk. It's a free market economy, right? Don't everyone have that free will shit anyway? Manny leans in closer to him. Manny's whispering, maybe just keep it away from some of the congregants for a little while. He motions his head towards Freddie and Deborah as they slice bread behind him, and the dealer nods in understanding. Dealer, okay, I got you. I'll see what I can do. The dealer takes another bite from the fish head and walks away with his mouth full. Dealer, I can't promise you nothing, Monsignor. Sammy and Frank walk up to Manny, and Curtis is resting in her arms. Fran, hey, just wanted to say thanks. Been a long time since we felt a part of whatever this is. Manny prepares a plate of food for him and holds it up. Manny, maybe we should come up with a name for this place. He hands Sammy the plate. Manny, what you think, young lady? She stares towards the fresh gold paint on the wall. Sammy, how about the lighthouse? Manny ponders for a few seconds, smiles, then eyes Freddie. Manny. Young Buck, take over for a while. Freddie grabs a fork and grills the fish heads. As Manny walks to the golden wall, dips a brush into black paint, and writes the lighthouse next to Sammy's sun drawing. She walks over and stands by his side as they both view their artwork proudly. So yeah, now it's a official church with a name and everything. The Lighthouse. All right, we're on page 51. The same time that he's doing this, there are two male police officers sitting inside their unmarked vehicle. I would say across the street, kind of in the shadows behind some building or something. And Officer 1 is looking at this scene through a pair of binoculars. Officer 2 is lighting a cigarette and eyeing him. Officer 2, what you think? Officer 1, kind of fucking odd, but close enough, I guess. Officer 2 takes out a camera and snaps a few photos of the homeless church. So I'm going to leave that vague just to get the audience thinking, what are these people up to? All right. The next morning, we're moving through this neighborhood of expensive beachfront properties as Manny guides his cart with Curtis barking inside. Manny. I agree with you, Curtis. It is a beautiful morning. He pets him while Freddie walks towards a stove on the curb in front of a luxurious beach home. Freddie. Check it out, man. Almost good as new. He attempts to pick up the stove by himself, but it's too heavy. Manny. Hold up, young buck. Let me help. Manny gently places Curtis onto the sidewalk, then he and Freddie clumsily pack the stove into the cart, leaning it awkwardly as it's too wide to fit inside. Freddie. This is one hell of a treasure. Can't believe someone threw this out. They struggle to push the cart forward due to the weight. Manny. It'll be fine once we get it going. Jackie stands outside his beach home in a robe, drinking a mug of coffee while he watches them push the cart down the street. Jackie is talking to himself. These addicts are spreading like the goddamn plague. Jackie's trophy wife in her 20s in this really nice bikini hugs him from behind and kisses his cheek. Jackie's wife. What's wrong, Snookums? He motions towards Freddie and Manny in the near distance, trying to push the cart. Jackie. That's what's wrong. Nobody wants to see this depressing shit in the morning on their way to the beach. This is exactly what I've been talking about. She hugs him tighter from behind, Jackie's wife. That's why you're going to win. He turns and kisses her, while Manny and Freddie are still struggling to get the cart rolling in the distance. Jackie. Someone needs to set this city back on course. All right, so if anything could be more like Sisyphus, yeah. This is Manny and Freddie, two homeless people, pushing a shopping cart in this rich neighborhood with this big and fancy oven inside that somebody threw out because they probably got the newer model and they didn't need this one anymore. And Jackie, the future possible mayor, is looking at these vagrants like, look at these fucking people, these deadbeats. If anything could be more, it's this scene. There's nothing more related to the Sisyphus story. These two guys are acting as Sisyphus, two spirits in one almost, trying to get this fucking shopping cart up this hill. And that's really what I'm going for with a lot of these storylines like this. Disparity and stuff like that. Disparity of how people get through the day. And now we are a little bit later that day, another city street with a row home as Manny and Freddie are struggling to push that cart with the stove sticking out as Curtis walks by their side, barking to keep them motivated. Freddie's talking to Curtis. Shut it already. I don't exactly see you trying to help. Maybe that's all he has to say, Freddie to Curtis. Shut it. I don't exactly see you trying to help. They stop by the truck driver's dump truck parked in front of his row home, where they lift the stove from the cart and place it inside his truck, then catch their breath, hands on their knees. Freddie's panting. I think we need to invest in a bigger cart. The truck driver walks out his front door drinking from a large plastic bottle of Gatorade. I even had the thought that this bottle of Gatorade would survive for thousands of years and end up as the fish tank for Bew in part 1. If you want to put like an Easter egg there, make it the same exact type of Gatorade bottle. Truck driver. You two brought that all this way for me? Manny. Wanted to return the favor for all your help. He bro hugs Manny, then Freddie. He bro hugs Manny, then he bro hugs Freddie as they wipe sweat off their faces. Truck driver. Thank you, gentlemen. Come on inside to cool off for a while. He leads them towards the front door. Truck driver. How far you push that damn thing? And Manny and Freddie are answering him at the same time. Manny's saying, not that far. Freddie's saying, way too far. And the truck driver holds the door open for them. And he says to Manny, how's your next sermon coming? Manny, haven't really thought about it yet. Truck driver, I'm sure some inspiration will hit you. And they all walk inside. All right, we're moving to a construction site. A team of reporters and photographers are staring towards Jackie behind a podium as a few other businessmen and women are seated behind him. Jackie begins this. He's given like a press conference, I guess. I can promise all of you that both the tax revenue and job creation will put all those critical voices to bed. And you guys and gals will always be welcome to shoot some dice with me whenever you want, once we're up and running. Especially you gals. Actually got pretty good the last few times. So he's kind of putting on a show for these reporters. This construction site is for a casino. I guess I should have said that. It's for one of the new casinos being built along the boardwalk. Jackie pretends to roll dice as light laughter echoes as a male reporter lunges forward. Male reporter. How about those who say the first batch of casinos have already ruined the local business community, as well as the family-friendly atmosphere that the beaches once provided? Jackie. Listen, what we've done for this city is an amazing example of American ingenuity and grit. A true miracle. I don't want to sound overly harsh here, but I'm about sick and tired of the hypocrisy and trumped-up righteousness coming from the critics regarding this city's amazing transformation. And we've still only yet begun. A female reporter points towards him. Female reporter. What do you say to all the seniors and minorities who feel like they're being pushed out of their homes once again? Jackie. All I can say is that the politics in this town is broken, and that's why I'm running for mayor. There's not much else I can do to help those who share my vision for the future until I win. But today is not about me. It's about the awe-inspiring casino that will soon be a part of our boardwalk skyline. Other reporters, shout towards him as a showgirl in a red, they're trying to get his attention for questions, as a showgirl in a red, white, and blue costume pops open a bottle of champagne and pours it out into some glasses, and she's handing out the glasses to some of the business people. Ramble of voices from the reporters. Were you responsible for the damages to Esther Thomas's home? Do you feel there's a conflict of interest between your business interest and political aspirations? So you could just have a ramble of voices from the reporters trying to ask him a question. Any typical press conference, set it up like that. Jackie is drinking happily with his associates, then grabs a shovel and digs it into the dirt for the ceremonial first, whatever you call it, while the photographers are snapping photos. So, we just saw the one end of the spectrum, and now we see Jackie and his cronies. They're celebrating the birth of this new casino about to open up. Not to open up, but to be constructed. Maybe, that's the process they're in. And I don't know, that's pretty easy to see the contrast. You see Manny and Freddie, and then you see all these rich people sipping champagne, and they're involved with the casino industry. All right, let's move on. We're now outside the boardwalk as bright sunlight shines onto the ocean waves as they gently roll to shore. I kind of want to set this up that when I'm at the boardwalk in these scenes, it's the same bench. They always go to this bench to hang out in front of the ice cream store. And Freddie, Manny, and Deborah are all on the same bench, gazing out towards the ocean, eating their ice cream cones. Freddie, ever wonder what's at the bottom of all that? I mean, like the deepest parts and shit. Like the Mariana. He licks his ice cream. Freddie. Must be all kinds of weird alien-type creatures down there, able to survive under all that pressure. Never seeing a speck of sunlight, but still surviving in the darkest of crevices. Debbie scratches her twitching arm. Deborah. Probably easier if you've never seen the sun. You won't know what you're missing. Manny notices her anxious state. Manny, how long has it been? She shrugs her shoulders and straightens out her arms to try to stop it from shaking. Manny, can you control the craving? Deborah and Freddie eye each other and lick their ice cream. They're two drug addicts. They're saying, like, what the fuck do you think, man? You think it's easy to control a craving for crack or whatever drug you want to put there? Deborah, so they're eyeing each other, like rolling their eyes, and then they just keep eating their ice cream. And Freddie continues the conversation. Freddie, it's better not to think about it, Manny. After a few moments of silence, Deborah rises, picks Curtis out of the cart, and pets him while staring out towards the ocean. Deborah, let's be real. There's no redemption story here, and I'm honestly fine with that. In the far distance, the familiar summertime sound of an ice cream truck jingle plays. Deborah, I appreciate you trying to help, honey, but my demons took full control of the ship a long time ago. Manny leans against the railing by her side, trying to cheer her up as she wipes a tear from her eye. Manny, I still believe everyone has a purpose within this chaos. Deborah, and everything happens for a reason, right? She lights a cigarette. Deborah, well, we ain't in your cute little church right now, so don't you try to feed me that bullshit. Sometimes things just happen. No reason, no master plan. It just happens because it happens. They share a tense silence. Manny, I won't try to explain existence to you because I don't quite understand any of it myself, but you do owe yourself a real chance to find some peace while you're still here, in whatever shape and form that may appear. They watch the waves in silence as she sobs and cuddles with Curtis. Manny. Does the ice cream help at least? She wipes her eyes and smiles towards him. Deborah. Maybe a little. He grabs some change from his pocket and walks towards the ice cream parlor. So, a bit of an existential conversation there. Deborah saying like, yeah, we're not in your church, Manny. I know you're trying to save us and all, and be your homeless Jesus, whatever, Messiah complex. But my demons took control of my life a long time ago, so don't give me all this cliche shit and all. Everything happens for a reason. God works in mysterious ways. She's kind of the nihilist in this story, I guess, but I still like her character, but she's maybe more of a pessimist about her life in general, just as an individual case. And Freddie is still young. Like, Freddie's in his 20s. Deborah's like probably close to 50 in this. So she's in a different part of her life where most people would become that cynical at that if they go through everything she's probably been through. So it's a different experience for Freddie and Deborah, even though they're both drug addicts. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has a different reason or no reason. And now we're back to the hotel at nighttime inside as Freddie and Deborah sleep on top of the folding chairs as Manny rests against his cart, reading his pamphlet to himself, Curtis in his lap. Manny, VO. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain, for the former things have passed away. Now we're going to the book of Revelations. That's from Revelation 21:4. Like, I don't know why I found these quotes. I'm not a biblical scholar. I've never read the book of Revelations or any of these, really. I use a lot of Matthew quotes. I was just searching for biblical quotes that fit these story, at this part of the story, what would fit here. And somehow I found this quote that I liked. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, because, he was just experiencing that with Deborah crying, knowing that he's trying to help her, but she says, I'm helpless, don't try to help me. And she's getting all teary-eyed and sobbing over that. So it fit this storyline at this point. And death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain, for the former things have passed away. I just like the sound of that quote. It's a poetic line there. I know the book of Revelations is full of dark, psychedelic, cryptic, really creepy shit, so I've never actually read the whole thing. Sammy rests against Fran nearby, and she's blowing Curtis a kiss. Sammy, good night, Curtis. Manny makes a dog voice. Road right, Rami. So he's speaking for Curtis and saying, Road right, Rami. She cuddles closer to Fran, giggling, then shuts her eyes as Manny pets Curtis and goes to sleep. All right, another dream. So there is another dream. I forgot about this one. We're at the beach. This is Manny's dream that night. He's sitting on a deserted beach dressed like a priest, grabs a fishbowl by his side and whistles the melody of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Two male prisoners in old-fashioned prison outfits appear beside him, their wrists and ankles in chains. Prisoner 1. Anyone still lucid out there, Padre? Manny rises, grabs some sand, and sprinkles it down. Manny. We all might be headed for information overload. Prisoner 2. Think you can at least take these chains off? He ponders, then places the fish tank in front of them. Manny. I don't think I can. Prisoner 1. What about your own? Manny notices now that his wrists are chained together, so he panics and tries to free himself as the whale swims to shore and the prisoners whistle Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. And that's the end of Manny's dream. Alright, after that weird dream, we're now going to enter into the church again, this abandoned hotel slash church. We're going to experience Manny's second service now. Manny just had his dream kind of saying, this is what's inspiring Manny to deliver this sermon. Some of the weird themes that came out in his dream. Wish you were here. And let's see how he does this second time around. We're on page 59 right now. Manny is standing in front of the Griffin painting and staring towards his growing congregation of mostly vagrants. There is now an old piano on the sidewall nearby him. And the congregation is growing. Manny's looking out towards them, and the voiceover is playing as Manny stares towards them from the front of his altar with the Griffin painting, if you want to call it that. And he's thinking to himself, he's telling this story as a narrator. The second service started out full of promise. Inside, when he looks out to this group of people, there's a truck driver and his family in the front again. Fran and Sammy are behind them. Curtis is resting in her arms. Deborah and Freddie are also sitting nearby. Joe sits in the back with some of those nurses from the free clinic, as well as that injured bus driver and his family. The deli owner sits with his family nearby. The dealer sits next to the cross-dressing bearded man who wears a conservative church dress. Flip and Gabby sit behind them with other prostitutes. Stutz from the scrapyard sits upon two folding chairs in the back row, and he's eating a hoagie, porno magazine in his shirt pocket. The homeless family from the intro with the kid that Manny gave him the truck, they're also there as the young boy's playing with his truck. So you could tell Manny went out preaching his gospel to the streets, and more people are coming to his church now to experience it in person. Manny's out front staring at all these people, clutching onto his gold medal, and he's taking a deep breath to prepare himself for this sermon. Manny, good morning, everyone. Nice to see some fresh faces out there in the crowd. He paces down the aisle, then grabs his pamphlet out of his pocket and flips to a page. Manny, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. He places the pamphlet back inside his pocket. Manny, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Matthew 5:3, 5, 6. Now he paces around a few moments in silence, preparing. Manny, the Sermon on the Mount, my good brothers and sisters. Some of the most beautiful diction ever passed down over the entire course of human history. He walks back to the Griffin painting, his back now towards the crowd. Manny. But are these eloquent words still relevant in these trying times? He now turns and faces the crowd. Manny. For I look around this room today, and just what do I see before me? Joe is lighting up a smoke. Manny. I see working class heroes beat down to their knees over and over again, only to rise back up stronger each time. Well aware that the next test waits around the bend, if God wagers so. Freddie stares towards him attentively as Deborah naps and drools on his chest. Manny, I see addicts fighting to get clean with all the vigor they can muster, no matter how daunting that trek may seem. Sammy rests her head on Fran's shoulder as she pets Curtis in her arms. Manny. I see the poorest of the poor, families without homes, children without a real bed to sleep upon. The cross-dressing bearded man swigs on a 40-ounce while Flip puts his arm around Gabby behind him. Manny. I see alcoholics, harlots, and outright slaves to lust, striving to reclaim their lost innocence. He paces around in silence, staring towards the floor. Manny. But as I prepared for today's sermon, I couldn't help but ask myself, just who am I to try to pass judgment on anyone? For I duly include myself in many of those same shadowed gratings of which I do not plan to also attach vanity and narcissism. His congregants nod in agreement while he paces in silence. Manny. Some here today may be waiting for that miraculous stroke of luck that will send them off to a brighter future in that mansion on the hill. And what better place for that to occur than right here in Atlantic City? He paces around in silence while some of the people laugh at his sarcasm. Manny. Others, and I truly mean no disrespect here, are plainly just waiting around to die, staring up at the storm clouds, anxiously anticipating that final eviction to come crashing down hard upon them. He pauses and stares towards the attentive congregants who are waiting on his every word at this point. Manny. I suppose it's just easier that way. You don't need help when you're pining for death. You don't need love when you're awaiting that final ray of light to shine upon you. He gazes towards the congregation, then pounds his fist on his palm. Manny, all you need is waiting. And that is about the easiest thing one can do as life floats on by. He claps his hands loudly as he paces with more vigor now. Manny, well, I say wake up, my good brothers and sisters. Wake up and put an end right here and now to all of your waiting. Nobody, no community, no nation ever got anywhere by waiting. Congregants cheer as he jogs around them, then jumps up and down with a youthful verve. Manny, don't wait for your community to be uprooted by greed and outright corruption. Don't wait to play the pawn in some archaic tribal nonsense. And don't wait for the storm to hit your shores, for then it will sadly be too late. He paces by the piano now. Manny. Some say all of life is a stage. So I say it is time for you to play that part you've been yearning for your entire life, since you were children, when your dreams were not yet infected by mercy's corruption, phantom judgments, and manipulated pomposity. Congregants rise up and cheer. As Manny continues, this is not a voiceover, that's a typo. Play that part for yourself, for your family and friends, for strangers, for your community, for the entire collective human consciousness. He runs around the room like a madman, his emotions completely bursting out. Manny. So, if you are just waiting around to die, then I beseech you to just do it already. Get it over with. What's stopping you? But if you want to live, and I mean really live, then stop waiting around. Get your asses off those seats and live, goddammit. The cheers echo louder as Freddie strolls over to the piano and performs Go Tell It on the Mountain. Manny is still preaching over the singing. As everyone's singing Go Tell It on the Mountain, Manny waits a little bit and then he starts screaming, Blessed are the addicts, the gamblers, the alcoholics, the degenerates and rakes, and every goddamn free-thinking individual. So he's just going off here, like letting everything out. Deborah wakes up and cuddles into his arms. Or not wakes up. Deborah walks up to Manny and like cuddles within his arms as they sway together and sing together. And they sing with the rest of the congregation. So everyone's singing Go Tell It on the Mountain. Everyone's all inspired by this sermon. And it's kind of like the Sermon of the Mount for all the rejects in this congregation. And yeah, Manny's coming to peace with that. Like, I'm one of you as well. He's saying that, like, I'm including myself in everything I'm saying right now. I was an alcoholic, I was a gambler, and he's saying all these things, and he's not going to include being a narcissist. So he's not saying this shit for any other reason but to motivate these people. Like, it doesn't matter. You could wake up and be anyone you want to be any given fucking day. Just go out and fucking do it. Again, a lot of this is related to my own shit. But again, it's not as easy as it sounds when somebody's yelling it in a church. You still have to have some kind of a plan, some kind of a practical, taking calculated risk. But I don't know, maybe you don't. Maybe that's my problem. I don't have the balls to just go do it. So a lot of this stuff, I wrote this 4 years ago, but it was similar stuff I was going through back then too. At this point, yeah, I was almost done with this series, and then after this, I just spent about a year or two writing my book, and then, yeah, the money issue came a problem. Once you run out of money, all this other shit is kind of like pointless. All right, so that's the second service of Manny's little church here, and yeah, I like it. I like this one better. This one was more, I could picture it in my head. I do see like the Giancarlo Esposito guy, really good actor. Many people know him from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but he's been in a lot of stuff. And I don't know, I just picture somebody who can pull this off as a homeless preacher and do it more justice than I did. Like, really get into this sermon, shouting it, like really get into it. And this is probably the most emotional scene of this entire script. This would be when the audience is like really rooting for all these people. All right, now we are outside the church as the congregation is singing Go Tell It on the Mountain. Jackie's shiny limousine is driving by a city street nearby, and his limousine is driving past Manny's cardboard home, the liquor store, Stutz's scrapyard, and the abandoned church with vagrants smoking crack outside. It's a little pause there, we just had this very emotional scene. Now we're just going back to the story. Now we're inside the limousine. Jackie is sitting in the back. His male campaign advisor seated across from him. Jackie. How we handling the press? Campaign advisor. Just our usual crew at the moment. Nobody else has any idea what's going down. Jackie. Good. I want this presented as a victory against vagrancy, the first strike to build this city back up. He lowers his window and gazes towards the abandoned, graffitied buildings and debris. Jackie. Progress is indeed a heavy cross to bear. His advisor pours champagne and hands a glass to him. Campaign advisor. Fresh beginnings. They cheers and drink. Then Jackie lights a cigar. Jackie. And higher property values. Now we are outside the abandoned hotel as two bulldozers are roaring out front, slowly approaching the front entrance. As the two officers from before lean against their police car, dressed in their full uniforms now. They give a thumbs up towards the two bulldozer operators as the men are driving towards the side wall. As Officer 2 eyes his partner. Officer 2. You sure this ain't like a cult or something? So maybe they even though they're outside, they can hear the singing inside. These people are singing, "Go tell it on the mountain." They're singing it very loud and passionately. They don't know what's going on. These two bulldozers are outside about to smash their fucking church here. Officer Two's like, "You sure this ain't like a cult?" Officer One lights a cigarette calmly. Officer One, who the fuck cares? They're all a bunch of addicts. Just sprinkle some crack in the sewers and let them go do their thing down there. They laugh together as the bulldozers inch closer to the entrance. Officer Two, it's like the Opium Wars. Officer One, the what? Officer Two, Opium Wars. Britain flooded China with opium or some shit like that to get everyone so doped up. I don't know, man. Just some cultural supremacy, colonial bullshit. Officer One puffs his cigarette. Officer One, what was that whole British invasion thing about then? Officer Two, that was the fucking Beatles, you idiot. Officer One, right. Good band. Officer Two, I'd have rather had the opium. At that point, Jack, it's just a bit of comic relief. I'm trying to just put some light stuff here. These police officers don't really know it. They're just following orders to smash this homeless crack den. They don't really know what's happening. This is all just a photo opportunity to add to Jackie's campaign to clean up the city. It's just like a publicity stunt, really. But Jackie's limo drives by and parks. As he sticks his head out the window, Jackie, towards the officers. What's the good word, gentlemen? The officers stand up straight and toss their cigs away. Officer Two, no problems here, Jackie. Jackie steps out, wipes his suit off, as the bulldozers inch even closer towards the entrance. Jackie, good. Let's get this over with. Make me look good here, fellas. Maybe because I've watched Better Call Saul so much, maybe there's a bit of that as well. You know, Saul is always trying to do shit. Jimmy, he's always trying to con people. Like when he staged the billboard, he staged that billboard so the guy would be hanging from it all the way up there, and he'd go and save the day. He gets free publicity from it. It's similar to something like this. Politicians do this all the time. There's that show, The Boys, as well, and they had stuff like this. Set up stuff that made politicians look good as free publicity. That's really what this is. They're setting this up. He was telling the police officers, find me somewhere with a bunch of crackheads in some squat and show me where it is. I'm going to go clean it up and put it on film and send it to all the news outlets, and it'll be good for my campaign. I'm cleaning up the city. Like, that's all this is. All right. The congregation, we're now inside the hotel. The congregation is oblivious to what's going on outside as they dance and sing joyously together as Freddie plays Go Tell It on the Mountain on the piano. As the roar of the bulldozers begin to echo like right outside the walls. Freddie, what the fuck? He rises from the piano bench, gazes out the window as Manny walks over by his side. Back outside, a little bit away from the front entrance, Jackie is shoving his advisor away as he adjusts his tie. Jackie, it's fine like that. I want to highlight my working class roots. He moves away as Jackie rolls his sleeves up and messes up his hair a bit to look more like a normal everyman. Then he stares towards the camera operator and his two assistants as they set up a video camera on a tripod. Jackie, how's it all look? The operator squints into the camera, frames the picture, and gives a thumbs up as Jackie tucks his gut in and we can see the hotel behind him. Jackie, Good morning, my dear, loyal, hard-working residents of Atlantic City. I am out here bright and early today to show you just how this city will work under my administration. He points towards the hotel, the police car, and the bulldozers behind him, Jackie. With the help of the heroic workers behind me, we will begin to clean up the filth which presents a rapidly growing menace to all of our safety and to the future of this once great city. Behind him in the distance, Manny, Freddie, and the entire congregation march out of the building towards the bulldozers. I'd say it's probably around 20 or so people. Jackie is now speaking. He's not facing them. He's looking away from them with all that shit happening behind him, so he doesn't notice it. So he's continuing his speech here. The drugs, the crime, the vagrancy, the eyesores that halt our progress, those societal ills will all be a thing of the past once I take office. Manny and Freddie step in front of the bulldozers as they prepare to slam right through Sammy's drawing of the sun. Manny, whoa, what is all this? Freddie, this is some bullshit is what it is. Officer 1 steps over calmly. Officer 1, this is an abandoned building. What the hell do any of you care? You should know the drill by now. Officer 2 walks up to Freddie. Officer 2, find some other trench to hide and smoke your crack in. Freddie aggressively stares him down as he pushes him back with his baton. Officer 2, you all get the hell away now. Or stay in there, I don't really fucking care. But this place is coming down today either way. The dealer stands up for Freddie and shoves Officer 2. Dealer, man, who the fuck you think you talking to? You ain't even a part of this neighborhood. Officer 1 takes his gun out and points it towards the angry crowd. Officer 1, everyone disperse now. If you make me call for backup, every single one of you will be locked up. Sammy steps forward with Curtis in her arms. Sammy, but this is our home. Deborah lunges towards them. Deborah, this is our church, goddammit. Officer 1, church? What the fuck were you all smoking in there? Freddie lunges towards him. Freddie, man, you don't know anything about it. The Officer 1, nervously points his gun towards Freddie as Freddie inches a little bit closer. Officer 1, you better all disperse, now. Freddie, just what you gonna do if we don't? The dealer lifts up his shirt, revealing his own gun, as the tension is now really building. Officer 1, everyone get back. Officer 2 holds out his gun and stands side by side with his partner. Officer 2, don't make this harder than it has to be. Manny attempts to play peacemaker now as he steps between the officer and the congregation. Manny, everyone just cool out, please, please. Jackie continues his political speech, staring into the camera, unaware of the confrontation behind him. Jackie, when I become mayor, we can all make Atlantic City the shining, distinguished. A gunshot rings out behind him as the congregants all scatter away from the building in a panic. As Jackie turns around and finally views the chaos in shock. Jackie, what the fuck? Just cut that for now. So now he's talking to the camera crew. Just cut that for now. Don't film this, you hear me? Turn the damn camera off. So this little stunt kind of went not exactly as planned. The officers step back towards their car now with their guns still pointed towards the remaining crowd. These officers are kind of nervous now too. As Deborah crouches down and holds Manny in her arms. Deborah towards the officers. You shot him. The officers get in their car and speed away from the chaos. as Freddie bends over to check on Manny, who's struggling to breathe. Freddie, Manny, Manny. Manny fights to keep his eyes open as everything turns blurry around him, then fades to black. So we're kind of laying on the ground, seeing what Manny's seeing, feeling what he's feeling. Like we think that he's like seeing his last few seconds of life here. Freddie's trying to wake him up. Manny, Manny, wake up, man, Manny. His eyes open and he sits up. He feels his chest. So you can make this moments later. Maybe he's laying on the ground motionless and everyone thinks he's dead and they're all huddling around him and they're all like crying and like, oh, our fucking homeless prophet is dead. But then, like, I don't know, maybe after 20 or 30 seconds, Manny's eyes open wide and he sits up. He feels his chest and lifts out his gold medal, which now has a bullet imprint in it. So the fucking gold medal saved his life. Joe helps him up while puffing a cigarette, then touches the medal. Joe, one hell of a good luck charm. Stutz laughs and hugs Manny a little too forcefully as others walk over and embrace him as well. Manny, easy now, Stutz. Still a little fragile here. All right, so there you go, the symbolic element of that gold medal. It was almost like I was going to say Pavlov, the Chekhov device. You keep showing the gold medal. This is my good luck charm. So I kind of had to make that at the end. But I was kind of planning on having a story like this. So this gold medal has seen some shit, man. It won Joe. Well, it's the one that Joe won in the marathon, and then Manny takes it and it saves his life from a gunshot. And then it ends up starting the religion that when Lamb holds it up to the electrical tower and offers it to the gods, ending the hurricane and uniting the tribes. Like the gold medal is a big symbol in this entire series almost. There's the Job story and that quote that I said about the significance of gold. Why is gold so valuable? Why did they select gold to be the metal that was worth currency? Why is it gold and silver? And I don't know, I'm just asking. But gold is like that universal, people risk their lives to dig for gold, the 49ers. So it's a big symbol of just the human civilization. All right. So Manny ends up getting shot. Maybe these officers didn't mean to shoot him. They were just nervous because there's 20 angry people kind of about to go after them. Maybe the gun went off accidentally. That's probably what I would try to set it up like. And Manny got shot. And they think he's dead. But then he gets up, holds up the gold medal, and there you go. It's a kind of a happy ending, kind of. All right, moments later, we're now across the street. Curtis is resting in Joe's arms as he stands in the shadows with Manny, Deborah, and Freddie as they watch their hotel/church get completely demolished across the street. Now we witness the bulldozers plowing right through the front entrance as they demolish Manny's The Lighthouse writing on the sidewall. And Manny does a voiceover here. Needless to say, the service kind of ended on a dour note. Now, a little bit later, another city street, Manny is noticing Sammy and Fran escaping the scene in the opposite direction with some of the other congregants. Manny Vio. Some things change. He shares a brief glance with Sammy as Fran guides her away. Manny Vio. Some things stay the same. Now we are at the boardwalk, that same bench that we always go to at nighttime. Well, now it's nighttime. Before it was Joe and Manny sitting on this bench near the ice cream store. Then it was Deborah, Freddie, and Manny on this bench. And now it's just Manny sitting on this bench, gazing out lifelessly towards the ocean as he shares a bottle of vodka with Deborah, Curtis cradled in his arms. So he's drinking again. Can you blame the guy? He's probably been sober for like 5+ years. And now all of his hopes and dreams are crushed. So he's drinking this bottle of vodka, passing the bottle back and forth with Deborah. Now she's the one like comforting him, kind of like a reversal of roles. And Deborah begins the conversation. It's just the way the world works. Don't be so hard on yourself. What are you going to do, run for office? She chuckles to herself, rises, and hands Curtis to Joe, who leans against the railing. Deborah, see you around. She walks away as Manny swigs more of the vodka bottle. Manny, VO. Maybe those bulldozers were the universe telling me that my time was up. I can change that to maybe those bulldozers represented the universe or the oracle or some shit like that. I think that sounds better. Telling me that my time was up. Lightning bolts flash far out over the ocean. Manny, VO. That I should just walk into the ocean and let the tide wash me away. Joe places Curtis inside the cart, then sits down next to him and lights a cigarette. Manny, VO. That I would never find a place to call home or a community to help build up. He finishes off the whiskey bottle, then tosses it onto the beach. Manny, VO. That I would become another casualty of the streets, just waiting around to die. Joe blows smoke from his cigarette above. It's just like smoke rings or something, and gazes towards the stars. Joe, towards Manny. You ever gonna tell me your story? Alright, from that we go to a flashback of a church in black and white. I think this would look cool. The last scene in black and white. Manny is a little younger and cleaner, so I guess 5 years ago. Yeah, there would be a super here on the screen 5 years ago. He's standing behind the pulpit in church, facing his congregation. Manny, VO. Everyone has a story to tell. So now Manny in this scene, in this flashback, is reading from a large, fancy, gold-plated Bible. Manny. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. That's kind of like repeating the same thing, but it's a good passage. Matthew 6:24. He shuts the book and walks away from the pulpit, while the well-dressed church choir sings "Go Tell It on the Mountain," and the congregants rise and sing along. All right, so Manny was a priest in his former life before he went homeless. This is 5 years ago. It could be Atlantic City. It could be anywhere around there. Maybe southern Jersey somewhere near Atlantic City. He was a priest in some church. Later that day, or right after the ceremony, Manny is by the back door of the church shaking hands with all the congregants as they walk by and exit. A little bit later, Manny is inside the back room of the church, opening up a safe inside a closet. He stares at the cash inside, ponders for a few moments, and then pockets it all. Later that day, he is on that usual bench on the boardwalk, staring out to the sunset over the ocean, lighting up a cigarette, and swigging a bottle in a brown bag. Later that night, he's at a casino. Inside the casino at the roulette table, buying chips with the cash from the church safe. He lights up a cigarette and spreads all his chips over some numbers, forming a cross shape, while the wheel spins. Now, really late that night, he's now drunkenly stumbling down an alley sitting down against a fence and sobbing into his hand. So he obviously gambled away all the church money. Curtis walks out of the shadows and snuggles up to him while Manny sobs louder. So that's how Curtis and Manny met. Curtis was actually trying to help him. He stole the money from the church, his own congregation. He went to gamble that night and lost it all. I just thought it was an interesting story to tell. You could show that in the beginning, but I think it's more impactful after we get to know Manny's character. He's so likable. He's always trying to help people. He's trying to form his church and become almost like a priest again at this point in his life. And then we find out his past of drinking and gambling. And I don't think that would really affect the audience. I think they would still be on Manny's side because everyone's got some skeletons in the closet like that. So that's why I set it up like this. It's more impactful. If you show that scene in the beginning and you make this completely linear story, you start this script. Why does that word sound weird? You start this story with Manny in the church and he goes to gamble, and then you go into him as a homeless guy. People already know the story. There's less of an intrigue. There's less of why is Manny doing this as a homeless guy? But if you find out at the end, I think it makes it more of a uniquely, you can really put yourself in his shoes at this point. Oh, that's why Manny became homeless for the last 5 years and he's trying to build himself back up. That's why. It makes the audience really emotionally connect to the guy. So we go from that scene, we find out Manny's story finally. I'm sure there's stories like this. There's plenty of corruption with any institution because we're all just human beings. I don't know any stories to say that really connects. I don't know why I came up with this storyline other than I talk about gambling a lot. And I think it fits the mood of Atlantic City where it could corrupt anybody. There's plenty of stories about people ruining their lives over gambling. So it fits here. It doesn't matter if you're a priest or if you're a police officer or a drug addict. Anyone can get that gambling demon taking control of their life. So we're going to end this story back at the boardwalk that night as we're drifting above the bench where Manny and Joe are sitting down and conversing together, Curtis resting in Manny's lap, while lightning bolts are striking far over the ocean behind them, and Manny does a final voiceover. Always going to be a storm somewhere over the ocean. All you can do is try your best to stay dry when it hits. And we go into a really cool closing song, which is Bad Religion, Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. I think that's a fitting way to give the audience a chance to just let their inner nihilist out as they're like, yeah, let's go punk rock style for this shit. All right, that's the story. I think it fits really well, man. There's so much potential to build on this, but it's a simple story. Homeless Jesus trying to build a church, but there's a politician with a different agenda. When there's a class struggle, it's usually the people at the bottom who are going to get the brunt of it, whether through the media or through anything else. That's just how it works, man. Deborah's the only one with the real practical outlook on politics in this story, really. That's just how the world works, man. What are you going to do, man? You run for office? I put that in maybe a year later because I was forming part 3 to this story, rinse and repeat part 3, which would be Manny running for mayor against Jackie. Jackie is going to be up for re-election, and then Manny comes out and maybe he's still homeless, maybe he's somewhere else, I'm not sure yet. But he challenges Jackie in the next mayor election. So, of course, Jackie's going to win this election. Even though his little stunt didn't work out, none of that shit's going to be reported because nobody else knew what happened. He'll probably edit the video to make it look good, to say, see, under my administration, I'll get rid of all the riffraff, even though he wasn't doing shit. He's just optics. It's just an optical illusion. Manny was the one actually trying to help people, trying to give people a new path in life. And of course, it's not going to work when there's other forces involved. So it's an everyman tale. It's the same story done over and over again, but in a different way with a different type of tone. I really like this story. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. Why did I decide that song? Besides the fact it's just a really good song, let me read the lyrics. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. Really, because that's how this story ends. It's a sour note. All this work to clean this hotel and build this community center where people can feel safe and sing together and pray together and do all this shit, and then another outside force misinterprets this and doesn't take the time to be like, what are these people doing in here? And yeah, he becomes a victim of this system that's more about image and optics than real change. Like, this is maybe the main theme that I was talking about before. Instead of really figuring out how to help people, you just put fancy words and throw money at shit. And I'm sure there's all types of corruption with that too. You either say, well, there's no homeless problem. We changed the name to houseless, so there's no more homeless problem. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. That's why that song was very meaningful, I think. And let me read the lyrics. There's people out there that say I'm no good because I don't believe the things that I should. And when the final conflict comes, I'll be sorry I did wrong and hope and pray that our Lord God will think I'm good. Countries manufacture bombs and guns to kill your brother for something that he hasn't even done. Smog is ruining my lungs, but they aren't sorry they've done wrong. They hide behind their lies that they're helping everyone. That right there is probably the reason I picked this song. In the end, the good will go to heaven up above, the bad will perish in the depths of hell. How can hell be any worse when life alone is such a curse? Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. We're living in the denouement of the battles gripping all, so what's the use of being good to satisfy them all? How could hell be any worse? Life alone is such a curse. Yeah, these lyrics are really good, man. And this is very early Bad Religion from their first album, 1982. I was rocking out to this when I was 1 year old. In my crib, fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. It's just a really catchy song, man. And that one line is everything this episode's about. They hide behind their lies that they're helping everyone. That's Jackie. Jackie wants to look good because he's got his own agenda. He needs to get that final political power to complete his quest in life. He's got some Daniel Plainview inside of him. And he doesn't really care about these people. He doesn't care about cleaning up the city, really. He just wants to make it look good so people think he gives a shit. So he could, build his new casinos and get the right people in power that he wants. It's a similar tale of you learn as a kid. There's a million stories like this. But I like how I saved the Manny story till the end. That's probably my favorite part, that I've decided to do that. Where Joe's like, man, I've been asking you, what's your story, man? are you ever going to tell me what your fucking story is? And Manny finally says, all right. And then we see his story. He was a priest 5 years ago, and he must have been he had a drinking problem as well. So he stole the church money and went gambling and drinking one night. Maybe he was doing that as a habit for a while and getting lucky, but then he lost it all, which is inevitable. And he didn't have the guts to go in front of his people and say what he really did. He just lost the church money. His one option is to go back and beg for their mercy and be like, yeah, I fucked up. Or he's too shameful that he just says, I'm going to become homeless now, and try to find some hope in that life. So I think that's cool. You can relate to that guy. A lot of people could relate to that feeling. Because religion, like I said, relies on shame and guilt and fear. Those are the three main things you need. The cunted coven, or whatever I said in the once in a lifetime episode. And something about that, the shame, the guilt, and whatever the hell else is. The last thing was. Yeah, so there's not really anything related to my experience with the church. I've never known a priest that was an alcoholic. These are all just made up characters. But maybe I saw something in a movie or something that lead me to this direction. I don't remember. I'm going to search Google right now. Priest gambles church money. Let me see if there's any true stories over the years that I'm sure anything is possible. Priest gambles church money. Let's see if anything shows up. Any headlines. Several recent cases involve priests stealing amounts of money from church accounts to fuel gambling addictions. Holy shit. Cases include a Pennsylvania priest stealing $40,000 for games like Candy Crush. What the fuck? And another sentenced for stealing $155,000 for gambling notes. Both in Pennsylvania, like right around the corner from me. These incidents prompted increased scrutiny of parish finances. Jesus, man. 2024. Father Lawrence Kozak was accused of stealing $40,000 in parish funds for gaming apps, including slot machine style games and Candy Crush. I kind of feel sorry for that guy. He probably just got addicted to that. Father George Athanasio, sorry man, I don't know how to say your name, pleaded guilty to stealing $155,000 from All Saints Greek Orthodox Church. He received 12 months with electronic home monitoring, 5 years probation, and ordered to pay full restitution. All right, that was Pennsylvania as well. This is in New York in 2026. Father Christos Christakis. Good name. Christos Christakis. That's a good name. Must be a Greek dude, right? He was indicted for stealing $450,000. Jesus, man. From a Buffalo church discretionary fund, with allegations indicating that the funds were used on personal credit card bills. Well, it wasn't gambling, but still, maybe that's why he had the credit card debt. That's pretty crazy, man. The Candy Crush one is like more sad because that can be really addicting to people. I've never got into it, but I've been addicted to other games. But Candy Crush, the priest was addicted to Candy Crush. That's like a Black Mirror episode. Like, wow. I guess you can find stories like that if you actually read the newspaper, but I don't read the newspaper. Yeah, like Law and Order, I think that's how probably a lot of their stories get made. They read stories in the paper. And I think that was in a Columbo episode. There was a Columbo episode with the author who wrote murder novels, and something happened, And Columbo's like asking him, "How do you write your stories?" I think there was something similar in that conversation. But yeah, I think it was a fitting song to end this story. At that point, yeah, man, he tried so hard to stay clean, but he had his final like push to make something in life was to build this church of addicts and degenerates and to work on that. And then before he even gets really started, it gets demolished by these bulldozers because of Jackie wants to be seen as the Frank Rizzo of Atlantic City or whatever, cleaning up the city. Hey, Frank Rizzo. Yeah, so I like this story a lot. It's easily read, and this is way easier to produce and film. There's not any special effects. Maybe just the dreams, the two dream sequences, which are rather short. Maybe there's some CGI in there, but not really. This would be one of the easier productions, I think, even though it's almost 75 pages long. So it's a little bit longer than my other scripts. The other ones were only 40, 50 pages, but they could be just as long if you make it in a different fashion. Some of those scenes in Once in a Lifetime could be stretched out and to really just get under people's skin, like the Abraham Lincoln scene, some of the more creepy foundational moments. This one is more just like a drama. This could be a Law and Order episode. This could be, I don't know. There's a movie called Atlantic City. I forgot to mention that. I did watch that. Susan Sarandon, maybe. It's from maybe the 70s. It was pretty good. Atlantic City movie. This was years ago I watched this, but it was pretty good. Famous actor, I can't think of his name. Yeah, Burt Lancaster. I should have known that. I think that's the guy who played Moonlight Graham, who's like my favorite character in any movie. Atlantic City is a 1980 romantic crime film directed by Louis Malle, 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 starring Burt Lancaster as an aging small-time gangster and Susan Sarandon as a casino waitress. It's pretty good. I remember it. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. It was nominated for 5 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Original Screenplay. It was known for its evocative portrayal of a changing city and its themes of chance, aging, and second chances. Yeah, it's a good movie. Really, I gotta watch it again. Now I'm starting to think of it again. It was very well written and interesting dialogue and everything, from what I recall at least. Yeah, who played Moonlight Graham? I think it was Burt Lancaster. Who played Moonlight Graham? Yeah, Burt Lancaster. I wrote a song called Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. It's like it's supposed to be a punk song. Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. How can you not like Moonlight Graham, man? He gave up his dreams of baseball. Come on, man. He saved the girl from choking on a hot dog, motherfucker. You don't like Moonlight Graham, then I do not like you. Because Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. As I say that like Christopher Walken. Kind of. Yeah. Well, that's the story. I think you see why I said that there could be real potential for this one and for Marathon, which is why I kind of think those two episodes are connected so well. They're both Atlantic City stories from the 80s, maybe I should just give up and write a drama, a miniseries called Atlantic City, and all these characters can play a role. Every one of these characters in Marathon could have their own story. Joe, we already learned his story. He's the chain-smoking marathon player, runner. And we know Manny's story now. And as we go, we could just pick Deborah, and now we'll go to Deborah's story. And it could be like a 10-part miniseries on all these different people. Because I really like these episodes. They still fit into this general universe, though. Like, I'm just making stuff up at this point, but they do fit in this universe, like a Black Mirror universe, because they're all connected. And even though they could stand alone, maybe by season 3, I would make Rinse and Repeat Part 3, showing the drug dealer in this story and how he changed his life. And then I'd show Deborah and her backstory and try to make everyone as unique as possible so I don't get too cliche with all this stuff. Because it could become cliche, I'm not going to lie. These are very dramatic episodes, but I'm trying to make them in my style. Could this be a Hallmark movie? Yeah, man. There was a movie with the Christmas shoes. Some fucking kid giving his mother the Christmas shoes, or I don't know, some cancer thing. I didn't see the stupid movie. If that can fly, then this one has plenty of potential. If you take out all the curse words and make this you set this in Christmas in Atlantic City, and all of these people are finding Jesus. They're celebrating Christmas. And then the evil Grinch in the form of Jackie Crow comes in with the bulldozers and demolishes Manny, homeless Jesus. He demolishes the church because that's how the world works. You either get paid, pay to play. What am I trying to say here? I don't know. You either make people a profit or you're deemed non-essential and your life is not worthy of further development. That's kind of what it boils down to sometimes. They get real depressing about it. But that's just life, man. You know, what do you expect? That's life. There's no free rides, right? There's no free rides in any of this shit. But no, I wanted to look at that song. That's why I'm kind of rambling nonsense right now. I think it's this one. I wrote an album in 2024 called Weaponized Sex. And it was based on songs by the Idols, the band Idols, and Proto Martyr, and bands like that. There's a lot of good post-punk stuff from Scotland. Oh yeah. And it's also kind of based on the great movie The Banshees of Inisherin, which is one of the best movies I saw over the last few years. I'm looking at my old Substack posts right now because I got Moonlight Graham on the brain. It's one of my favorite songs because it's so much fun. Moonlight Graham, yeah. Makes you understand the true meaning of the Christmas elf. Makes you lend a hand, then your gut and your eyesight. Makes you take a stand, no suspicion tolerated. Summon Moonlight Graham, summon Moonlight Graham. Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. I just think it would be a really fun song. Even if you don't know who Moonlight Graham is. A lot of people probably never saw Field of Dreams or they think it's a stupid movie. But I would want to debate those people and be like, yeah, you've never experienced Moonlight Graham on weed. No, I'm not promoting weed use. I'm quoting the Jon Stewart from Half Baked on weed. But yeah, if you don't like Field of Dreams and the Moonlight Graham shit, I guess you're even more cynical than I am. Because I love that story, man. Population wars, why names are best kept inside one's mouth. Population wars, why land confuses property rights. Population wars, keep on fucking to beat the high score. Summon Moonlight Graham, summon Moonlight Graham. Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. Moonlight Graham is my favorite human being. I'm trying to sing in like a Scottish accent. But I was really into Idols at this point, I think. Because all of these songs probably sound like Idol songs. Which, really good band. Yeah, I like that song. Maybe I'll try to go through this album one day. Since I'm looking at it right now and getting like nostalgia feels for it, even though it's only 2 years ago I wrote these songs. But what else can I talk about? I don't know. I think I mentioned everything. The Sisyphus angle to both of these stories, Rinse and Repeat Part 1 and 2, they are connected, even though they're completely 1,000 years apart. There's a connection of the gold medal. There's a connection of the Gatorade bottle, very subtle reference to Bu's fish tank in the first part. I don't know, what else? I think maybe that's all, but it is taking place in Atlantic City. Atlantic City is not going to look the same, but we do experience it in the first part and on the boardwalk. Maybe you could use that same bench in the scene with Lamb when he has his dream of being on the boardwalk and he's sitting down with the cross-dressing male who's in this episode as well. So there's plenty of connections to warrant having a 1 and 2, Rinse and Repeat Part 1 and 2. And yeah, it's very fun to put stuff together like this. Yeah, maybe they're sitting at that same bench near the ice cream store when they're having that weird talk in the first part. Lamb and the cross-dressing man playing the violin, and they're sharing the 40 ounce, that scene. So you could put other correlations, is that the right word? Other connections, other things that kind of, the real nerds would go back and like, oh my God, look at this. Like what I do with Black Mirror, and I'm like, oh, look at that, it's an Easter egg, Black Mirror Easter egg, and I'll watch that on YouTube for like 6 hours, noticing things that I didn't notice before, how these episodes are kind of connected in some way. Like, I like that shit. I'm a nerd too, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a nerd if I really like a show, like Better Call Saul. You can see what I was going for. There's plenty of episodes of Better Call Saul where James McGill, he'll hire that college film crew to film him doing stuff. Those are some of the most fun scenes. Like when he pretends he wants to make his commercial with that huge American flag in front of the school. I don't know if that was all improvised. It seemed like it. It was just funny writing where he's like, oh yeah, we're making a documentary about that guy who wrote If You Like Pina Colada. I was cracking up when I first saw that. So that's similar to the scene I put here with Jackie and his team trying to get this shot of the bulldozers knocking over this abandoned hotel, which is a den of degenerates shooting up crack. And can you shoot up crack? Smoking crack and whatever the hell else they're doing. So I was going for that similar type of a scene there. Even though it didn't work out, Jimmy McGill seems to always come out on the right side with his fast talking, slipping Jimmy. But I don't know. I don't think there's any plot holes to any of this. I think it's pretty realistic. A politician wants to look good during his campaign in a city like that in the 80s when the war on drugs was happening. That's what politicians were doing. I'm going to be tough on crime, tough on drugs, tough on all these social ills. That's always a rallying cry for certain segments, a certain political message like that. you create someone to fear. They did that with the Mexican cartel people, whatever they were called, whatever their gang name was. They kept saying, "Oh, that shit," during the first election with Trump, and that's still kind of going on, I guess. But yeah, you give people someone to fear, whether in the country or a national or a foreign enemy, and then you build your campaign. If you don't elect me, blah blah blah. That's what I was going for with the vanilla ice cream and the chocolate ice cream. You give people vanilla or chocolate. You tell them one side will take their retirement money and lead to chaos, and the other side will save them. And that's how the political system works. You pick a team and you hope for the best. That's how like I kind of picture it. And yeah, there's realignments and it's more complicated. The Democratic Party today is nothing like it was even in the 80s or the 60s. It's always moving in a different direction a little bit. Or it's moving backwards. It could move backwards as well. We want to get back to conservative values, traditional values, and that can mean anything. Who knows what that means? These vague terms, progressive, conservative, they don't really mean anything. You got to break it down issue by issue and have rational debate. You can't just identify people with these stupid terms. Even communist, capitalist, socialist. Yeah, you can vaguely understand what those terms represent politically in a political science type of a conversation, but identifying somebody like that doesn't really tell me who that person is. Now, I talked about that a lot, but identity politics just seems really backwards in a lot of ways. You're judging people by not even the cover of the book. Like, people say don't judge a book by the cover, but identity politics is even worse than that. You're judging human beings by their appearance. It is a stereotype. Identity politics almost enforces stereotypes in a more nefarious way, more manipulative way than if a comedian like Dave Chappelle is doing it. But you don't really figure that out until it happens to you personally. But once identity politics starts fucking with your life and manipulating you and painting you to be this or that, and you're like, what the fuck, man? It becomes a really fucked up, you don't know how to handle it at first. You're like, what is happening? Why am I being manipulated by people? And then it just dominoes into other manipulations until you feel like you're losing your mind, pretty much. I don't know. I hope people can understand what I'm trying to say. And this story can be an outlet. You can be a member of a church. You can be a member of any kind of community organization. It doesn't have to be based on religion. And you shouldn't let your past get in the way, no matter what it is. Easier said than done. Just like I was talking about before, that you should just grab your balls, grab life by the balls, and do what you want to do. It's easier said than done. These are all great things to say. Pat Croce had a book that I really liked as a kid. I wrote this in my book of anthology of all my lyrics. Pat Croce was the owner of the Sixers in the early 2000s with Allen Iverson, those great years. And he had a saying, because he's also like a motivational speaker, and he was like I believe he was like a trainer, like a physical trainer or something in that field. And he wrote a book called I Feel Great. Regrettably, I think the foreword is by Bill Cosby because of the Philadelphia connection, but whatever. And that was his motto. When I was young, probably like, I don't know, 10 years old, we went to the Spectrum in Philadelphia, with my school. We saw Pat Croce give this talk, I Feel Great, and it stayed with me. It really did. When you're that young, you don't know what inspirational speakers even are. I'm like, all right, we're going to where the Sixers play. That's cool. And then who the hell is this guy? And he gives like an hour and whatever long speech to all these kids and shit about positive thinking and setting goals for yourself and working hard to achieve it. And that always stayed with me. It's a good mantra, but it's not always easy to live by. You could have all these great people. Who's the other guy? Tony Robbins. I've never really listened to him, but I'm not big on the motivational speakers. I don't really listen to it ever. But I know he's like the biggest one. I think his thing is about victimization. He talks about that sometimes. Even if you've been shit on throughout your life, don't play the victim. Don't fall into that madness. And I could see that too. I know what he's talking about. That's almost like an easy way to, if you go through some traumatic shit and you're at that crossroads, do you just give up, or do you double down and say, fuck this? If I'm alive, then I'm going to do what I feel like my purpose is in life. I don't know. I'm not putting words in Tony Robbins' mouth. I don't know the guy. Or I do recall something like that about victimization is can really set you back in life if you keep playing the victim. Even if you really did get victimized, you shouldn't let that control the rest of your life. Keep holding on to it, and it's really hard not to sometimes. If you can finally get past it and put it in the rear view, which is what I would love to do, but I haven't gotten to that yet. Doesn't mean I won't get there, but right now I haven't gotten to that point. But the Pat Croce idea is so simple, but again, I like those simple slogans. I feel great. It's like a fucking Frosted Flakes commercial, isn't it? Isn't that Tony the Tiger going, I feel great? Maybe he had to pay Tony the Tiger some royalties. Is that what it was? Am I misquoting Pat Croce? I feel great. Pat Croce, I feel great, and you will too. Yeah, that's the name of his book that I read. Yeah, Pat Croce and Bill Lyons. That's pretty cool. Tony the Tiger was there, great. So it's close. Tony the Tiger was the original, the OG motivational speaker when you're 5 years old eating Frosted Flakes. They're great. I'll do a good Tony the Tiger. But what else can I talk about? I think I'm all out. Speaking for 6 hours a day is kind of odd, but you run out of things to speak about when I get to close to 3 hours, it gets a little dicey. My brain is spinning. What do I talk about now? I think I mentioned everything over and over again for the last 2 weeks. And yeah, I guess I'll end it here then. There's nothing else popping in my head that I want to discuss. Other than I love these characters. The scene in the bar is very symbolic of this story when Manny and Deborah are dancing to the Pogues. Dirty Old Town, Dirty Old Town. I really love that song. Some of the other songs I used in this soundtrack just really hit the spot for me to add to the flavor of this. Just like Seeds of Anarchy, I wanted to put people in 1980s punk rock. This one is about living in a grimy existence in the inner city where people look down on you and think you're just the king of filth, the king of filth. Like Man and Deer. You can get that judgment from people, even poor people against poor people. Doesn't matter. Like, being judgmental is such a waste of energy. Playing the shame and guilt game, it is a waste of energy. And yeah, you should use your time for more creative outputs or something more productive than that, I guess. But what else can I? There's other songs that I probably should talk about. Maybe I'll pick a couple more before I end this recording. I feel like I need to mention maybe one or two more songs. Um, I mentioned Dirty Old Town, Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell, Wish You Were Here. Everyone knows that song. Living for the City, that's probably my favorite Stevie Wonder song. Off my favorite Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions, Oh Happy Day, You Are My Sunshine. Tried to use like old, really soulful songs like that they could be singing inside the church. I forget how that song goes. Everybody's Broke by Herbie Hancock, from 1981, from an album called Magic Windows. Everybody's Broke. Like, that kind of fits the theme of this song. Who is dreaming up a scheme just so they can pick your pockets clean? How can you pay your rent when the money's spent before you get it? Nothing in your pockets, do ya? Love it when they sock it to ya. Go up and smoke. Find your funds are insufficient. Fishing for a cash position. Baby, you're just ordinary broke. I don't know how the melody goes, I forget. But the lyrics really fit this story. Everybody's broke. Ain't nothing funny. When they're messing with your money, everybody's broke. Ain't no joke. I think it's an upbeat type of song, which I like when it's a kind of a sad theme about wealth inequality. But he makes this like a funky 80s type of synth song. I think it's like synthesizers. We all ain't got no money, and I don't think it's very funny. Everybody's broke. Flat busted and disgusted. Why everybody's got an attitude when can't nobody buy no food. See how they legalize, how the eagle flies. When will old Uncle Sam find some other scam? Get your hands out of my pocket, homie. Scary and inflationary. Instead of sitting stationary, loosen up your grip before we choke. It's hard to comprehend it when it's gone before you spend it. Baby, everybody's broke. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to this. I forget how the melody goes, but the lyrics are really on point. Welcome to the Great Depression. It's double dip recession. Enough is never quite enough. Oh, say, can you see? Oh, the cost of living is killing me. I can't afford to buy my own tin cup. Thank you, lady. Hello, Miss Jackson. I hate to bring bad news to you, but, your payment's past due. You better get your payment in my office today, or I'm gonna have to take your luxuries away. Ha ha ha. I ain't dancing to this. I don't know how this is performed. I'm just reading through the lyrics right now. Everybody's broke. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. What about the Run DMC one? I did pick Run DMC because, I'm thinking of the 80s, and they're definitely a part of that time period. Run DMC, Hard Times. Yeah, I'm sure that fits the mood as well. Run DMC, Hard Times. I vaguely remember how that one goes. Run DMC, Hard Times, lyrics. 19 No, that's not from 2009. When is that from? It's from the early 80s. I don't know. I guess this is a remix or something. I don't know what album it's from. Hard times spreading just like the flu. Watch out, homeboy, don't let it catch you. Prices go up, don't let your pockets go down. When you got short money, you're stuck on the ground. Turn around, get ready, keep your eye on the prize, and be on point for the future shock. Hard times. Hard times are coming to your town, so stay alert, don't let them get you down. They tell you times are tough, you hear that times are hard, but when you work for that ace, you know you pulled the right card. Hard times got our pockets all in chains. I'll tell you what, homeboy, I don't have my brain. It don't have my brain. All day I have to work at my peak because I need that dollar every day of the week. Hard times. Hard times can take you on a natural trip, so keep your balance and don't you slip. Hard times is nothing new on me. I'm going to use my strong mentality, like the cream of the crop, like the crop of the cream. But beating hard times, that is my theme. Hard times in life, hard times in death. I'm going to keep on fighting to my very last breath. Yeah, that's perfect for it. That's Manny's theme song. Like, he's going through all this shit, but he just keeps going and going like the Energizer Bunny. So that's a good one. And maybe I'll pick one more to read real quick. Well, Go Tell It on the Mountain is a pretty popular song. Um, since this is a religious theme, I'll read those lyrics because I can't think of how the verses go. Go tell it on the mountain. It's really catchy. I picked the one by Mahalia Jackson. I don't know who wrote this song. Go tell it on the mountain. Who wrote it? Who was the original writer? To give that songwriter credit. No, that's not right. The song, man, the song. Go tell it on the mountain. Songwriter. I think it's a book too. All right. John Wesley Work Jr. African American spiritual song and Christmas carol as well, which was derived from oral tradition, so they give credit to John Wesley Work Jr. May have originated from a spiritual of the same name. All right, so it's one of those songs that gets passed down and passed down. That's pretty cool. That's one of my favorite melodies. Really cool melody. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Shepherds kept their watching, or silent flocks by night. Behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. So yeah, this is like a Christmas song. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills. The shepherds feared and trembled, when lo, above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain. Yeah, this is like a Christmas song. I never knew that. I just thought it was some ordinary gospel song. I didn't know it was like a Christmas theme. Because I never remember this song during Christmas when we heard religious songs. I never heard this one. Go Tell It on the Mountain. Yeah, that's a classic. The melody is going to stay in my head for the rest of the day. That's how good it is. All right, one more and then I'll end this. Since I'm in New Jersey, I picked Springsteen, My Hometown, because it fits this really well. 1984, Springsteen, My Hometown. I was 8 years old and running with a dime in my hand to the bus stop to pick up a paper for my old man. I'd sit on his lap in that big old Buick and steer as we drove through town. He'd tassel my hair, I don't know how to say that, and say, son, take a good look around. This is your hometown. This is your hometown. In 65, tension was running high at my high school. There was a lot of fights between the black and white. There was nothing you could do. Two cars at a light on a Saturday night. In the back seat there was a gun. Words were passed in a shotgun blast. Troubled times had come to my hometown. Now Main Street's whitewashed windows and vacant stores seems like there ain't nobody want to come down here no more. They're closing down the textile mill across the railroad tracks. Foreman says those jobs are going, boys, and they ain't coming back to your hometown. Last night, me and Kate, we laid in bed talking about getting old. Packing up our bags, maybe heading south. I'm 35. We got a boy of our own now. Last night I sat him behind the wheel and said, son, take a good look around. This is your hometown. Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah, it's the typical type of Springsteen theme of a song here. He wrote about this in his book, I think, about wherever he grew up. I think that was actually happening. And the factories are closing down. That's like in so many Springsteen songs. People moving out and whatever else. Yeah, it's a common theme in folk music, and Springsteen has a flavor like that besides his other happier poppy stuff. The Ghost of Tom Joad and like songs he did like that. So yeah, it's a great song. I like this song a lot. It fits this story, yeah. I didn't really get into the race relations because I didn't say what race these characters are. Well, I picture Giancarlo Esposito as Manny, but he could be anything. It could be white, black, anything else. Giancarlo Esposito, because I always kind of pictured him as Manny. He's an actor and director. I don't know, he directed stuff. 68 years old. Giancarlo Giuseppe Alessandro Esposito is an actor, director, and producer. Yeah, he was in Do the Right Thing, yeah. I don't remember him in that. But yeah, he's a pretty good actor. I can see him doing this. I just picture his type of a face. I don't know. I picture his face when I think of what Manny would look like. He was in Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, King of New York, The Usual Suspects. I didn't know he was in that. Ali. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. Captain America, Brave New World, The Jungle Book. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it could be anyone, man. Yeah, that's cool. He was born in Denmark, then he lived in Rome for a while. Then he finally came to New York. But yeah, like I said, I never say Manny is a white dude or a black dude, or I'm trying not to be too stereotypical when I write these characters. Like the drug dealer guy, I'm thinking of the drug dealer from other shit I saw in my life. Always Sunny in Philadelphia as this funny actor. That's who I picture. Let me give him credit. There's a drug dealer who plays in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, black dude. It's not the guy who like sold them the cocaine when they went to the country club. It's not that guy. It's a guy who like they meet underneath the bridge sometimes. I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out. Who played the drug dealer? Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna find this guy's name in Always Sunny. He's a pretty funny actor. That's who I kind of picture. Maybe it's that guy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, man. I forget. I don't know how to find this guy's name to give him credit. So, but yeah. So it's tough when you write stuff like that. I don't want to be writing characters that are not believable, so I would need to have people help me write some of these things to make it as authentic as possible. The 1980s is not that long ago. Atlantic City is right by where I live, so I feel like I know how people will talk in certain situations, but I also don't want to be too stereotypical about shit. Um, so I would need other people to kind of put their own 2 cents in a lot of this stuff. I don't know if gentrification was a thing. This story is kind of about gentrification, Atlantic City. The only thing I think I researched was that as the casinos came in, it was pricing some people out. When they first voted that casino gambling was okay, Atlantic City, 1980s. Let's see. And in that documentary I watched, there was a church. And whoever made the documentary or the news report from the 80s interviewed the priest inside the church. And the priest was saying, yeah, no one comes to church anymore. Everyone's moving away. He's like, the only people that come and light the candles are gamblers trying to get lucky. Like, this was the priest kind of laughing about it, saying that we used to have a big parish, but now the casinos came and kind of changed Atlantic City to a different type of a destination, and the locals probably either left on their own accord or moved somewhere else. Well, yeah, or I don't know. I'm not as educated to speak on gentrification in Atlantic City in the late 70s, 80s as gambling was legalized. But according to Google, my quick search here, there was a severe form of gentrification displacing lower income, largely black residents to make way for tourism. While the boardwalk was revitalized, the city's population dropped by over 50% in areas like the Inlet, and the booming casino industry created economic polarization rather than lifting the surrounding community. So I didn't mention the word gentrification till right now, but that is a part of this story. Jackie says in the limo at one point, let's cheers to higher property value. Like, he wants to kick out all these old, poor buildings and move these people out of here, whether they're homeless or whether they're actually residents that just won't be able to afford to live there anymore. That's gentrification in a nutshell. And I guess because of the casino development, yeah, it changed everything. 50% of the people left Atlantic City in areas like the Inlet. I don't know what that is, but maybe somebody else has more information on this. But it makes sense. That's what the report was talking about. It's always the poorest of the poor. They can't keep up when these big developers come by and they want the land or whatever the fuck the situation might be. There's a famous story with Trump, I think, in Atlantic City. Some lady didn't want to sell her house or whatever. I think I based the story about Esther Thomas in my script on that. The historic 80 block North Side neighborhood, a thriving black business district, saw its businesses and homes demolished, removing black-owned nightlife and retail. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people suffered, man. Despite the boom, unemployment rose in the early 1980s as jobs failed to benefit the local residents. The vibrant local community of small businesses was replaced by flat glass walls of casinos as tourism became the main, well, of course, yeah, that became the main focus. By the late 1980s, Atlantic City was one of the country's most popular tourist destinations. So I'm sure it brought in a crazy amount of tax revenue. But you got to look at the pros and the cons, I guess. From this perspective, the people being gentrified, they don't give a shit. They're getting kicked out of their homes, kicked out of their communities. They're not going to care about tax revenue when they have to find some other place to exist. Atlantic City's population declined by 16% from 1970 to 82. I guess that kind of indicates that the residents weren't really seeing a benefit from casino gambling. But yeah, you could have a long conversation about this if I actually did the research on this. But again, look on YouTube, look up that Tucker Upper. They have a really good channel, and they made a documentary not too long ago about Atlantic City and some of these topics, and they actually interview some homeless people. So that was a big inspiration to try to, and you'll notice it if you go watch that video, you'll see how I got inspired to write some of these scenes, to include the abandoned hotel, that whole storyline that came from that video. So I really owe them some thanks there. And yeah, these are all relevant issues today. So this is another timely type of a screenplay. People will relate to this story because this is probably happening. Gentrification didn't go away. I'm sure it still occurs in a lot of communities. People point to Philadelphia all the time. What was it called? Fishtown or something? Maybe one of the more recent versions of it, where some people get priced out of their neighborhood. I always recall the scene in Shameless. I don't mention Shameless at all, but the show Shameless, I'm speaking of the American version. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. And the British version's up there too. Like, they're both similar storylines and similar characters, Frank Gallagher, but they're both brilliant shows. And there's an episode of Shameless where I forget who, maybe Lip, is buying a house. He just got married, maybe one of the later seasons. And he starts building it up and fixing it. And the people around him are like, dude, don't fix your house. They're like threatening him because they don't want it look like a nice neighborhood. It could bring up property value or something. That's what I got from the scene, at least. They were trying to do something, and people were like vandalizing them, saying, don't improve your house, motherfucker. And I don't know, I don't get the whole scene, but that's what I was getting kind of from the context. That's what I was kind of interpreting it as. They don't want their neighborhood to get improved for some reason, because maybe it'll bring up the taxes. Like, it makes sense. That's but yeah, I don't talk about Shameless. That show's been really, really foundational for me. Tons of inspiration. Just in terms of Frank Gallagher specifically, one of the best characters of all time. I think how they handled his death at the end of that season was really, really one of the best in television history. Frank Gallagher's death scene when he's just floating up wherever he's going. I really like that scene, how they handled that. Let me see if anything comes up. If maybe there's a Reddit discussion about that. It's the first thing I think of as soon as I mention Shameless, that's what I think of. Well, the first thing I see on Reddit, Frank's death was honestly so ridiculous. But I kind of enjoyed it. I really thought it was an interesting way to end it. But everyone's got different opinions. That's all good. All right, I'm going to stop it here. I think I've talked enough stuff here. I need to get back into that though. I keep saying that, and I not don't have time to do it right now. To watch what I want to watch, The Croods. I'm just saving them to list to watch later. But I would rewatch Shameless. The whole series was just brilliantly done. That's good to definitely withstand the test of time. And the British version's amazing too. That's the first one I saw. I guess it was on Netflix. So I just binged it all, and it was so good, man. If you never saw the British version of Shameless, um, it's just as good as the American version. And it's tough to pick a favorite Frank Gallagher because they're both really good. Macy's amazing, and I don't know what the other guy's name. I'm looking it up now. David Threlfall. David Threlfall played Frank Gallagher on the BBC version of the show. It's really good. I don't know any of these other actors, but I recognize his face. But it's a very similar. It's appealing for the same reasons that the American version is appealing. The same type of atmosphere towards social standing and not giving a shit about all that judgmental shit. Like, that's what I get from that show, really. So if you get a chance, yeah, check out the British version too. I feel like most people I've talked to have seen the American version, which is just as good. I think it's an amazing show too, but because I saw the British version first, it was like, and there's like, I don't know, 11 seasons of it. So there's tons of episodes, and it's definitely rewatchable. If you can deal, some of the accents are hard to understand at first, but eventually you get used to it. Debe, one of my favorite things is how they say the word Debe on the British version. Just go look that up. The British version of Shameless, how they say Debe, Debe. Not making fun of the British accent. It's just it's pretty funny how they say it. Debe. All right, that's all. I think I rambled probably about 20 minutes too long, but that's okay. Yeah, this one is just as relevant today, which I was starting my conversation there. I think my final pitch to whoever the fuck is gonna listen to this one day. This episode's just as relevant. Like, everything is about that in politics today. The wealth disparity and the 1%. It's the same thing in the early 80s with the Reaganomics, and I included the trickle down a couple times. Trickle down economics, and you can relate that to today. I think there's plenty of similarities if you speak with people older than me in their 60s or 70s that remember Reaganomics, and they lived through that, and now they're living through a similar type of experience now, probably. I can't relate it personally because I didn't pay attention to politics until the late 90s, really, when I could vote. The first time I voted was, I don't know, I don't even remember. I don't think I voted in 2000 or 2004, maybe 2008. But I was old enough. But I was born in 81, so it's like I would have no recollection of Reagan at all. Maybe just from Point Break when one of the guys has his mask on when they robbed the bank. But yeah, I was never into politics until my early 20s in the late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, I don't know what it's like. I could go back and research more about it. All I have is a passing education of knowing kind of what it must have been like. Like when I hear Margaret Thatcher, her policies in the UK, I think there was a pretty strong connection between Thatcher and Reagan. I think that was like a new type of paradigm being experimented at that time period. I don't know exactly how similar in terms of actual policies. I can't go that detailed about it. But there is a TV series called Thatcher and Reagan, A Very Special Relationship, 2022 documentary. So, yeah, there must be something to that. The UK and the US are always kind of connected like that. It seems that way, at least. So it makes sense that the early 80s was a different paradigm to this really conservative, I don't know how else to term it, returning to that traditional lifestyle. You look at Reagan and Thatcher, they look like they're almost the same people. I'm looking at pictures of them like dancing together. It's very odd. But yeah, I don't want to judge the guy. I didn't live through it, so I'm just going by what people say. So I'm not going to shit on Reagan, but maybe some of the policies weren't really good for the majority of people. But I'm ending it here. My historical knowledge is not there to have any kind of debate with myself about Reaganomics and all that shit. It's not interesting to me either, even though from a political standpoint, it's not interesting. I don't want to read a book about Reaganomics and the history of it. I would never read that book. Well, maybe, I don't know. Unless I had a reason to. But I'll use those concepts and stories, all right. It's kind of a lazy trope to just pick and choose these things. Trickle down economics, it's such a weird slogan. So it fits this story really well. You look at some of the themes in this story, yeah, these people are leaving ovens and scrap metal and food, and it's trickling down to Manny. Like, it's so basic of a storyline. They find rich people's junk and they make money off it. That's the trickle down. Stutz is telling them, Stutz works at a scrapyard, and he's telling them, how's that trickle down working out for you? Like they had anything to do with it, like it's their decision. But this story is exactly that. It's Reaganomics, how I view it, and in my educated view, in my uneducated view, sorry. I view it through that lens of Manny and Freddie picking up a rich person's oven that they just threw out. That's probably like from a year ago, perfectly fine condition, but they got the newer model, so they're throwing it out. That's the trickle down. Rich people will get more money to buy new shit, so everyone else gets their old shit. I guess that's cool. I'll live by that. Give me your old like BMW or Ferrari. I'll take that shit. Give me some of your trickle down stock options. I'm all about that shit. Give me your trickle down. I don't know. I'm out of stuff to talk about. But it doesn't get more obvious than that. Like, that is trickle down economics. People that drive by the neighborhood, sifting through people's garbage, looking for scrap metal and other shit. Like, you can't get more symbolic than that as a criticism of trickle down economics. But I'm going to end it here. I really like this story. Hopefully it can get further developed and hit on a lot of themes. I don't want this to be a story that rich people bad, poor people good. That's not what this is. It's not about that. It's not demonizing rich people. There's plenty of great people who happen to be rich as well. There's plenty of shitty people that are poor. Your wealth status, your wealth identity, financial, whatever, does not determine your character or who you are, just like anything else. It's just another part of identity politics that you shouldn't view as a part of your real identity. So this is not a story saying being rich is bad. Being poor is great. That's not what this is saying. That's a backwards way of looking at economic disparity. It's not an anger thing. It's just showing how people survive through certain economic eras. And I could base this in any time. It doesn't have to be Reagan in the 80s. You could put it in any time period, really. But to me, the 80s represents a fun time, and it's a perfect setting. You look at Atlantic City, the bipolar examination of an entire city before and after gambling. Like, that's a lot of good symbolic elements come from that. That's why I choose Atlantic City a lot. It's not a shitty city. It's not bad like that. Every city has good and bad, whatever. But I'm not shitting on Atlantic City in these stories like it's such a bad place. I used to go there all the time. But not really to experience it. I'm just going there to gamble when I went, but it's a fine city. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm sure casino gambling threw it on its ass. It hurt a lot of people. People wanted to get the fuck out of there. This quiet beach town became Las Vegas of the East, full of gambling and nightlife and loud shit. Parking lots were more valuable than a quiet beach town and developing independent businesses. That stuff's out the window when Steve Wynn and rich ass people like that come in. Maybe there's a bit of that in the Jackie Crow character as well, but it's a story as old as time. Like, I'm not creating anything new here. I'm not solving any problems. I'm just adding another piece of art to get people to discuss these things. And I'm sure they can do it. Most people can discuss economic issues way more intelligently than I can.